a router at your parents' home in the countryside, somewhere in Alabama. Or install an update on payment terminals in 15,000 European retail stores at once. Or monitor machines of a car production in China. Or maintain a crane on a cargo ship thousands of kilometers offshore in the Atlantic Ocean without having to travel. All this is possible from anywhere at any time with TeamViewer.
The digital transformation continues to gain momentum in all industries. Plans and intentions are no longer enough. It's time to put digitalization into action along the entire value chain.
The solution meets our high IT security and data protection requirements as a bank. We incorporated the solution on our bank's website for real-time communication. As it's easy to use, fully compatible with our technology as well as browser-based, it removed all barriers for interaction with our customers.
Our solutions empower our customers' workforce to solve problems critical for businesses by using cutting-edge technology. This applies both to desk workers and employees outside of the classical office environment.
The retail industry logistic processes must be efficient and accurate to meet the customer promise. Through the use of augmented reality solutions, employees' daily work is enriched with easy-to-follow instructions, which ensure high efficient operations and accuracy in the supply chain space.
Enabling digitalized processes is important for every company to become smarter, faster, and better. Based on global megatrends, the potential for TeamViewer software is boundless. Our ambition is to explore more and more use cases to continuously add value for our users and our customers around the globe.
We have been using TeamViewer for years to offer remote troubleshooting of our medical equipment, for example, MRIs or CTs. And as we developed a new remote scanning service for MRI imaging, we were looking for a strong and trusted technology partner. So together with TeamViewer, we are now perfectly positioned regarding remote connectivity and can combine strong performance and high security standards.
With our solutions, we can bridge distances and share knowledge globally, removing barriers to progress for everyone, creating a world that simply works better. This is what we want to achieve from anywhere at any time with TeamViewer.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you guys doing today? I think you guys can do even better than this. Okay? Good afternoon, everyone. How are you doing today? I'm Belinda. I apologize if I haven't met all of you today. Right, I tried my very best to meet, but we have got about 90 people here. 9 tables, 10 times 9, so it's 90. Okay, pardon me, but I'll try to meet everyone here. First of all, I'm Belinda. I lead the TeamViewer Asia Pacific marketing based in Singapore. I traveled to Perth, and I used to live in Perth a couple of days ago. A couple of years ago. Yeah, I traveled here, a few days ago. It's really nice to see the bustling, very beautiful city. I know some of you are actually based here. Really good, really nice place. First of all, right, I'd like to thank all our customers, all the partners, and also Manchester United team. Not to forget also our TeamViewer colleagues who have been traveling from all over the world, from Canada, from Germany, from US, from Singapore, right? Did I miss anybody here? Adelaide, right? Various cities of Australia as well, right? Thank you so much. I know this is a very significant event to us in TeamViewer. Why do I say that? It's our very first event and we're oversubscribed. It's our very first experience TeamViewer event in Perth City here. So I would like to really thank all of you, and please give all of us a round of applause. Thank you. Well, without further delay, I'd like just to go through today's agenda very quickly. Right, a few weeks ago, we were at Bangkok attending the Experience TeamViewer event at the same time, also the Manchester United match. Last week, some of you maybe were at Melbourne for the Manchester United matches, and today you are all here, and some of us and some of you might be also going for the match tomorrow, so please enjoy the session. Okay, so what we're going to go through today is we'll have Sojong Lee, our APEC president, to give the welcome address, and then we have Hendrik Weed, our chief product officer, traveling all the way from Germany to Perth City here, and I think he really went through like 3 stops of flight, more than a daytime of traveling. Thank you so much, Hendrik, for that. And Hendrik's going to go through the industrial metaverse perspective. And then we have Graham coming from SAP, traveling all the way from Singapore to walk us through as well the SAP Industry Cloud Solutions. The most interesting part will be the live technology demos. When I talked to some of you this morning, some of you really expressed keen interest to look at some of the demos in Frontline. Some of them said, well, you're so red today. I said, yeah, it's Frontline red. Frontline, Frontline is one of our key augmented reality solutions today. So sit back, relax, and watch that. The live technology demos will be done and delivered by Dan Hendren, our partner enablement manager. Where's Dan? Where are you, Dan?
Over here.
Oh yeah, over there. And also David Manuel, business development manager, same over there. I'm pretty sure all of you probably, if not all, but majority have seen David as well, and also Imad in Australia. And not to forget, we have John Wilson, our Global Center of Excellence from SAP, to be here and do the joint collaborations of the demo together. Now, after that, we have Ian Fox. Who's Ian Fox? Ian Fox is actually a head of media operations from the Manchester United team. So a lot of people, a lot of you might have wondered, how does TeamViewer solution help Manchester United? That is the answer from Ian Fox. Okay, and then it's not last but not least, the most exciting part, meet and greet Manchester United 2 legends. They're gonna appear later on with Andrew Cole and Albert Morgan, and then we have lucky draw closing by our Imad VP Enterprise Sales for ANZ here, TeamViewer. We have got prepared really nice backdrop for some of you who are very interested to take the autograph, photograph as well with the legends at the same time after the event. So sit back, relax, and without further delay, let me introduce and welcome Sojong on stage. Welcome, Sojong.
Hello, can you hear me fine? The best? Yes? Well, I'm very excited to be here. It's my first time to be in this city. I heard Perth is city of light and most sunniest city in the world. But I understand because it's a winter time, so we have some rains. But hopefully tomorrow we have a better weather for this exciting match. As my colleague Belinda mentioned, I want to start with thank you note, especially for Manchester United. It's our very, very strong partner. We are not only sponsor, one of the biggest sponsor, but we are actually technology partner. And our team, together with our team and our partner, we are kind of showcase how Manchester United are also leveraging the solutions we have. So, when you think about TeamViewer, what comes to your mind? Some people may, say like maybe Manchester United or maybe Mercedes F1, kind of car brand, right? But many of you, actually this morning, sorry, not this morning, this lunchtime before this event, I met many of you, and then they said, well, we are using your solution, your remote connectivity and remote support solution we are using, and we know TeamViewer as a remote solution provider. And that's true. We are a global leader in this remote connectivity and remote support solution. We are deployed on 2.5 billion devices globally. 2.5 billion devices. That number is equivalent the total population between India and China. So many people are actually using our solution. Our platform is very powerful. But from this individual, actually my slides is here, yeah? So from individual customers, from small, medium enterprise or global, all the conglomerate, they're leveraging our solution to connect. And our solution, I will kind of showcase, introduce a little later, but also using same technology to connect devices of any kind. We actually did a little bit research, using this type of remote connectivity solution. It helps this sustainable development goal, which is really, really key metrics for many countries and many corporations. Using just our solution, 37 megatons of CO2 can be avoided just 1 year. So what does this 37 megatons of CO2? Do you have any idea? So I asked our team, they said, fully booked Airbus 380, which is the biggest airplane, traveling over 7,000 times between Singapore to New York. Actually, very significant role that we are playing in the sustainable development goal to avoid the CO2 emissions. TeamViewer has established in southern part of Germany in 2005. So it's been 17 years kind of history. We have about 1,400 people. But really interesting part is more than 40% of team are working in product and R&D, which means this constantly invest into technology to provide the relevant solution in the market is our DNA. In this region, in Asia, actually TeamViewer came in 2011. They came to Australia. So historically, last 10 years, we serve customers in Asia Pacific from our Adelaide and Australia office. We have about, across APAC, we have about 180 people, and among 100 people sitting in our Adelaide office, not only sales and marketing, but we have a customer support, we are partner in the support organizations and operations and so on. So we have a full function based out of Australia to support our customers and partners in the region. So our vision with our 1,400 employees, our vision is, of course, together with our partners, our vision is to create a world that works better. So what does that mean? How we can deliver that vision? Well, I like to share a little bit high level our solution overview. So we can kind of segment our solution into 3 pillars. I think blue pillar is probably the one you probably know most about TeamViewer. This instant solution to connect your devices, laptop or cell phone to connect, and the IT kind of problems can be solved instantly. The second solution is actually from the first kind of evolved from this first solution pillar. Using the same technology, connecting your cell phone or your iPad or a laptop can connect devices of any kind. And one of my favorite use case actually was in the video, our corporate video, that Siemens, during COVID time, using same technology, this connectivity platform to connect CT and MRI machine for radiologists, not only maintain remotely, but also diagnosis patients remotely. I think the story is really, really powerful. When I was in Korea last month, we have use cases that electric car charging station. I don't know whether electric car is very famous in Australia, but in Korea it's getting very, very popular. And every building, either commercial or residential building, they need to have the charging stations. Think about it. This maintenance engineer cannot dispatch to every building to provide this services, may not be that easy, right? So our solution is embedded in the charging station so that remote maintenance, remote inspect, remote repair was possible. When I was also after Korea, actually I was in Japan, and then Canon. Canon is one of the I'm sure everyone knows Canon. One is a projector. They provide the projector. And during COVID time, Japanese customers, they don't want visitors to come to their office. So our solution was embedded into projector on the ceiling so that the remote maintenance, proactive maintenance was possible. Another example, in India, early this year I was in India. India cable TV is very, very, very famous. You probably know Bollywood, there are a lot of movies and dramas, shows they're generating. So during COVID time, one of the biggest, they haven't signed the reference yet, that's why I cannot share the name, but if you come to me just privately, then I may share after a couple of drinks, but the biggest telco provider in India, their TV set-top box is very critical to watch this cable TV. Our solution is embedded into their set-top box so that remotely maintenance and also some of the software problem was able to solve immediately so that they can enjoy entertainment during COVID time. And it's very important because this second pillar is about enterprise. We are targeting enterprise customers. What is most important for enterprise customers? These days we talk about security. Security is really, really important function. We provide this auditability, single sign-on, whatever these different conditional access. We provide top-end enterprise security grade to our customers as well. The last pillar is actually today's topic as well, together with our partners. So the second pillar, the fundamental question that we had is, okay, how can we solve the software problems? That's what we address using this type of remote connectivity technology. But what about hardware problems? In industry, a lot of frontline workers, they are touching various physical objects. So how can you help them? But I'm not going to talk everything because I have my colleagues will come and introduce, and seeing is believing, right? So we are going to live showcase our industry Metaverse solution as well. But in a nutshell, leveraging innovative technology such as augmented reality, artificial intelligence to digitalize this workflow to help those frontline workers to perform safer, faster, and with more accurately. So that's kind of the topic that we are going to share together with our partners. So on that, hopefully you can enjoy. And my one request, during break or after event, because we set up this live demo station, so please come and immerse in this industry Metaverse experience, because you may find out some of instant kind of challenge that you hear from customer or that you have, we might be able to be partnering with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophia. And here we go, the next presenter, Hendrik Witt, our CPO. Let's give him a warm welcome, of course. Thank you.
Thank you. No, I have my yeah, also warm welcome from my side. I'm very excited to be here. Like Sojung, first time in Perth, so really enjoying it. Long flight for me, I have to say, coming all the way from Germany, but it actually went pretty well, I could say. Talking about kind of today the metaverse and the industrial metaverse, really want to take the opportunity to talk about not only what the metaverse actually is, but also really, does that matter for you as a business leader? And if so, how can you really leverage the potential that eventually sits into the metaverse, let's say, play, right? So, and usually, like Sojong already hinted with showing the slide on the product portfolio, typically what people are worrying, or not worrying, but wondering actually, is really why is TeamViewer actually dealing with the metaverse thing? Because like Sojong said, right, installed on 2.5 billion devices out there, TeamViewer is actually the name for a category, which is IT support, right? How do I fix IT problems? Usually the answer is you use TeamViewer, right? Because then you don't have to travel there, then you log into the system, and then we're here to assist you. And that is not only true for enterprises and businesses of all sizes, but it's also true, for consumers. Because TeamViewer has, from its very early days onwards, always the free offering, right? You can go to the website, download the stuff, and help your mom, help your dad, help your parents, friends, whatsoever. You can just do it and help them. So we really cover, the full spectrum of users, if you will, from consumers all the way to large enterprises. And the metaverse play we're in right now engaged is certainly more, at least for today, on the industrial, on the enterprise side. But let's jump right into metaverse. I think you would probably all agree, who has not heard of metaverse before you got invited to this event and the title was saying something was metaverse? Is there anyone that hasn't heard so far on metaverse? Seeing it, reading it, nobody wants to say something. So, who knows what the metaverse actually is? Also not so many hands. So that's usually the thing, right? The thing is, everyone is talking about the metaverse. Certainly there is a lot of hype happening these days around the metaverse. To be honest, it is also thanks to Facebook, right? And Facebook's decision kind of renaming the entire company to Meta in order to stress and emphasize their ambition into being a key player in the metaverse, whatever that is. So that is certainly something. However, when you talk about metaverse, I think only few people know that the term metaverse is actually not new. It's actually quite old. It has been initially coined back in 1992 with a science fiction novel called Snow Crash, right? So obviously there was already the vision, like here, that this is a virtual world, that this is kind of digital representations of us, of humans, of things, of everything. So it's a complete virtual environment. It's kind of an extension of our lives. It is probably more an extension of our social lives though, right? So, and then obviously the question comes to mind, what is this, right? What does that mean? And typically what people, in terms of pictures that they have in their heads now, and maybe you also have in your heads, maybe seen this when you're reading about the metaverse, it's probably more around this, right? It's weird things. It's for sure all virtual, it's avatars, it's maybe some virtual collaboration and meeting environments, things like that, but it's also about shopping experiences. Think about an all virtual retail store where you can walk in, you being an avatar, experiencing certain things in virtual reality, 100% virtual, or you going on a trip, going on a tour, doing some sightseeing somewhere without the need to travel. The only thing that you do is put on a pair of virtual reality glasses and then you're there, right? It's also obviously helping to support carbon footprint reduction, I would say, right? But it's a different way. So it's all these things. And now, if I understood correctly, the majority of you guys are coming really more from, I call it tangible businesses, right? Rather industrial businesses. And now the question obviously is, okay guys, understood. All virtual, nice, but is that relevant for my business, right? Is that really relevant for my business? What can I do if I'm not a retail store? I cannot build up and ramp up, I don't know, in oil and gas rig or something, in virtual reality. Maybe you can do this for training purposes, but is there more in? And the answer to that question is probably this version of the metaverse is probably not so relevant for you, right? And the question is obviously, why is that now, and why are the guys talking about the metaverse? Because we know that this version is not so relevant to you because your people, your business is around humans, right? You need human workers, you need nowadays often called frontline workers, right? And the characteristics is usually they need to work with their hands on physical things, right? They're operating in reality. They're not in a virtual world, they're in the real world, doing things there, and you're not alone, right? It's because these group of frontline workers is decent in size, right? The reality is that the majority of the global workforce is actually frontline workers. So it's rough cut, 80% of the global workforce is these people, is people being out in the field, people working on physical objects. It is not like us, working in a desktop environment somewhere in the office, nowadays even in the home offices, these type of things. This is not working for the typical frontline workers, right? In mining businesses and whatsoever. And the reason is because really their jobs are and will always be anchored in reality, right? So there's no way around it. There's no way around, being, somewhere on the ground, in the ground, for mining on an oil rig or whatsoever. So that is the reason why that version of the metaverse is not so important for you guys. But it also doesn't mean that for roughly 3 billion people, we will leave them behind, because the technology can do very good things for them, and that was already part of the title for the day. But there is a special version of that, right? There is a special version for you of the metaverse guy, which we call the industrial metaverse nowadays, right? And what is now the industrial metaverse compared to the, let's say, classical metaverse thing? And that is more, from my perspective, more a holistic approach. It is in particular an approach that really takes into consideration that there is also reality happening, right? So it is a blend. It is a blend. It is not you put on a pair of virtual reality glasses and you are in a different way. You are staying in the reality, but digital information, digital content gets really blended into your reality. It is it is enriching your experiences. It can help you eventually do better, right? By really the perfect blend and combination of a digital world still being in the physical world, meaning in reality. That is kind of what is behind the industrial metaverse, and what is kind of enabling the metaverse. For example, a key element is, of course, hardware, right? Similar to a virtual reality headset, there is also hardware out there that is used in the industrial metaverse to really create that industrial metaverse experience, which is, like I said, this blend of digital and real world. And there's all sorts of devices out there. Maybe the most prominent one here is the one in the middle. It's a Microsoft HoloLens device that maybe most of you have seen here and there. It can create what's called mixed reality experiences, showing holograms and reality, and you will also be able to experience those type of devices. But there's others, right? There's other devices that don't look, I would say, that fancy and futuristic, still super valuable tools for the industrial metaverse. And the good news is we have two partners here in the room from two headset manufacturers. The one is the Vuzix device on the right side, and also the RealWear device. So not only will we have the devices here in the room so that you can experience the devices, and I would really encourage you to do so, because that is an experience that you probably haven't had before in your lives, right? It is really, so once you tried it out, you will immediately understand what these devices can actually do for you. And those devices are actually almost full-blown computers, right? They come with everything. Of course, they come with compute, they come with connectivity, they even come with solutions if you're wondering, yeah, but what now if I'm wearing prescription already? Can I not use it? The answer is, of course, yes, you can use it, because there are special ways to handle that. Either you can use your existing prescription with the device, so it easily pairs together, or there's other ways to handle that, and then certainly there is systems like voice control is embedded, all sorts of interaction capabilities. For sure, there's camera devices that can do all sorts of great things for you, including a very simple yet powerful element, which is obviously collecting photos for documentation purposes, of course. So that's the hardware piece, which is really crucial to unlock, or let's say enable, the industrial metaverse. And then certainly there is companies like us, TeamViewer. We're not a hardware play, we're a software play. And it's kind of the software. It is really, by the end of the day, the software that unlocks all of these capabilities to really then be able to leverage the capabilities and possibilities of the industrial metaverse, right? It is the software kind of that turns the smart glass devices into a work tool, right? Because by the end of the day, you as industrial leaders, you're interested in work tools. You're not necessarily interested in gadgets, the latest and greatest stuff to play around with, but it's all about, tangible business benefits. And it's then the software that, for example, turns the hardware into a hands-free tool so that you can tap into digital information wherever and whenever you need information. Still, your hands remain free, which is super important if you're dealing with physical objects, right? That's the beauty of a smart glass device that you can wear literally on your nose. And with that capability, so on the one hand side, keeping hands free, on the other hand side, being able to tap into digital information, tapping into SAP system data, all these type of things, that then by the end of the day allows you to redefine, to reshape work processes. The way how you do work today is probably very efficient, thought through, all of that. But with these new capabilities, you can redefine work processes. You can reshape them, make them better, make them, on the one hand side, for example, more ergonomic. So for the people using that, right? Because hands are free, digital information is still available. But you can also reduce error rates. You can improve process performance. You can come up with a way more flexible solution for all your business processes. And the product behind this that we are offering in order to get you started easier, let you tap into the benefits of the industrial metaverse, is our Frontline product. It's called TeamViewer Frontline. So what is TeamViewer Frontline? You can think of TeamViewer Frontline almost like, I sometimes say, the Microsoft Office, but for the frontline workers. So similar to the idea of Microsoft having with this Office suite, this is a suite of solutions. It ships, for example, with 5 pre-configured solutions for supply chain logistics, for example, order fulfillment processes. You can experience that later in a live demo. For manufacturing, the nature for manufacturing is typically rather a step-by-step instruction approach that solution allows you. Maintenance, in particular for heavy equipment, asset-rich businesses, that is super important to have maintenance and inspection capabilities. While manufacturing is more the step-by-step approach, inspection and maintenance is not only about instructions, but also capturing data on the assets, and that is also what is supported in those things. Not to forget, training is a big element of the industrial metaverse, where you can really enrich reality with digital information so that your people and employees can learn faster. And like I mentioned, field service similar to maintenance in that space. And that solution suite, you can think of, it's really predefined, some say templates, right? Where there is best practice knowledge of how you, for example, run a logistics order picking process. It's already there. You can reconfigure it. You don't have to kind of program it, code it. All these things are not needed. And it's all built from the perspective of a business user. So you don't have to be an IT expert to really leverage the industrial metaverse for you. What is really needed is your business knowledge, right? Is the knowledge around processes, around the way how you do actually the job. Not so much about, you know, technical details, how do I now implement this with the system. This is all taken care by the platform itself for you. I want to show quickly some examples to make that a bit more concrete. One, for example, is CocaCola. Famous brand, everyone knows, has probably drinking Coca-Cola for quite some time already. So what is Coca-Cola doing with TeamViewer Frontline? They have been able to significantly improve and thereby actually also changing the way how they do order fulfillment in their warehouses, right? The challenges that they had when they approached us was really, you know, when you are in logistics, probably, you know, order fulfillment processes are processes that have been heavily optimized over years, right? Every year it goes about new optimization, things like that, and typically KPIs get more and more challenging so that you meet them. And they were at the point where they said, okay, the new KPI requirements and new targets, we couldn't meet anymore with the existing technology. We need to do something new. We need to do something different here in order to reach new levels. And we teamed up there, equipping them for what we call kind of vision picking solutions, right? It's kind of doing order fulfillment, but with smart glasses, like on the picture here in the back. And what they were able to do is really to significantly drive down error rate in terms of long picked items, which then cost huge cost kind of when the different or when wrong stuff is arriving at the retailers. So drive down error rates, at the same time increasing speed. And for me, typically also most important from a product perspective is not that we obviously need to drive business related capabilities and KPIs. We also want to do something good for the people, right? Because it's the users that's by the end of the day that would need to use that. And we had significantly more happy employees. In fact, they were saying, okay, with that technology, I don't want to go back to the old, right? Because it was making the entire process for them so much more ergonomic and seamless. I'll show you a quick video on how this actually really looks today at Coca-Cola. So you see equipped with headsets, hands-free, being able to drive around the warehouse. Voice driven.
Okay.
This is Greece. They also have a local language version, but we stay away from that in the video. So nowadays really literally looks different in the warehouses because people are equipped now with weird headsets running around talking to this thing. But they can do it in local language. You can even have that on an individual basis, like you are used to with, let's say, traditional software, right? You have that translated in English, in German, in whatsoever language, and people can, you know, when they log into the system, they have their own world, if you will, right? Really geared towards their skills, which is also a key element, hasn't been around typically before when you talk about frontline worker solutions. Another example, completely different, automotive space. Audi, car manufacturer, is using kind of, or leveraging also the potential of the industrial metaverse. In this version, it is a more immersive version of the metaverse. It uses a different headset, in this case a Microsoft HoloLens devices, which can create, more immersive experiences, including 3D holograms, things like that. And what they are doing here is they're deploying it for training purposes to onboard new people faster. And it's about quality inspection, right? And typically it is not only that you need to know what you need to look after in terms of quality at the end of the assembly line, but it's also the different locations of the different quality points. So, and what they did is, with the technology, they can really attach the various different checkpoints at the various different locations around the car, and they stay there, right? So they can move around the car, all these annotations stay there, they can tap into super rich media, including obviously videos and all that things, and that allowed them to significantly drive down onboarding time of new employees in that process, which is massive. They not only use that for quality assurance training, that is where they use the rich experience with the more immersive industrial metaverse. But once it comes to the actual assembly line, end of line checking procedure with quality, in terms of quality, they use, for example, more the monocular smart glasses, like a CocaCola device you've seen there, and also have that same experience, not super rich with 3D holograms, still able to follow the steps if they don't remember what to do, and they can capture that information. So it's basically the same process coming in a slightly different fashion when it comes to the day-to-day operations of performing kind of the quality checks there. So those are just two examples of the many, many more examples that we have out there. By now, I think, if you're thinking about who is actually leveraging industrial metaverse solutions, it's way more than 300 customers around the globe out there that are doing it every day. So this is not a one-off thing. It is really, so Frontline has been designed really for 8-hour shift long usage, not for those type of devices like here, the Microsoft HoloLens device, because it's heavy. This is kind of only for partial time or partial shift usage. But there's devices out there, for example, DHL is using it since 4 years for 8-hour shifts constantly. It's a standard equipment. So certainly the metaverse should be something you should think about. Take the opportunity later to experience the demos. I think I have a final video, and then, no, I don't. I have the most important slide actually that I forgot, which is, why should you use it? I actually touched on it already. There is obviously tangible business benefits. So the why I should consider this is typically business benefits, right? And it's 4 key elements. Obviously, you can significantly improve process performance. Like for example, DHL, those that are closer to logistics know that 15% performance improvement is massive. It's really massive. It's a game changer for them. CocaCola, for example, driving down error rates to almost 0. Different for inspection, so Airbus, for example, being able to speed up inspection processes also quite significantly by still not impairing error rates. And like, for me, always the most important is the last one, which is really, because many people are asking, yeah, but who's using this? What is the user acceptance of this? And I usually go, it's a super high. Why is that? Because with that technology, we're actually creating happier employees. Why is that? Because usually when you look at the frontline workforce and the support of digital equipment they have at hand nowadays, it's limited, right? However, when they are not at work, but at home, they have everything. They have tablets, smartphones, all the stuff that helps them to make their lives easier. But when they go work, they are back in the 70s, right? So, and that is why they appreciate it so much with those pieces of technology still being a work tool, right? It's not a fun thing, it's not gaming, but it's a work tool, but it's so much better than what they have right now at hand during their work. That typically results in significantly more happy people. But now I think there's the video. Quickly to summarize. that is TeamViewer's solution or product for unlocking the industrial metaverse. Thank you for your attention. Hope we're all having a great day. And now I give back to you, Belinda.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Henry. Now, I hope all of you have actually learned about TeamViewer industrial metaverse perspective, and also at the same time how our frontline solutions actually have various industrial value chain. Some of you are from mining today, oil and gas, logistics, warehousing, manufacturing as well. So without further delay, let me welcome the next presenter, Graham from SAP. Now,
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Okay, so look, I am going to start with some thank yous, some questions, and maybe an apology as well. So the thank yous, first of all, thank you for everybody in the room for giving up your Friday afternoon. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. Also, a big thank you to TeamViewer. I think I've been lucky enough to spend a little bit of time with them over the last couple of days, a little bit of time in Manchester United as well, and it's been just huge fun and hugely professional. So thank you very much for the invitation to speak. That's the thank yous. I'll go to the apologies. Beer plus Graham plus presentations don't always work very well. So I just want to get that in there. Cheers everybody, but who knows? I can't really remember what I'm supposed to be presenting, but we'll get there in the end. Questions. The questions are for the audience. Okay, so I do want to ask a couple of questions. I do want to see a show of hands, and I have been told that if we don't get audience participation, we cut the beer. So it's in your hands now, guys. So first of all, who has heard of SAP? Okay, that's always nice to know when you're doing an SAP presentation. For the three people in the room who haven't heard of us, we are the largest business software company, and we are just celebrating our 50th year in that business. So I'm glad most of you have heard of us. The second question is, over the last 12 months, who has seen supply chain in the news? Every day. Okay, so what I want to talk about for the next few minutes is, I want to talk about a little bit about SAP, but mainly I want to talk about supply chain. I want to talk about what it means, and I want to talk about what we've seen and what we're learning and what we're doing. And I think we've just seen a perspective, which is the metaverse perspective. We've seen that frontline perspective. And now maybe we just interrupt that for a little while and maybe look at it from a slightly different lens. And that's the SAP, the enterprise lens. And my view is that these two worlds fit perfectly together, but it's always worth looking at it from one end and then the other. So that's what we'll do for the next few minutes. Okay, so I've talked about a couple of things on here already. We talked about SAP, we've talked about supply chain, and the other topic is SAP's industry cloud. So again, as we go through the session, I just want to tease out what that is and what that means in the context of SAP. But let's start with what have we learned over the last 2 years? Because these have been interesting times. So what have we learned in the last 2 years? We've obviously seen the COVID pandemic. We have seen, we've seen boats get stuck in the Suez Canal. We've seen people realise that they can't make products without semiconductors. We've seen so many things like that in the last couple of years, and all of them have led to disruption. Massive disruption like we've never seen before. And that has impacted businesses, and it's impacted how organisations manage their supply chains. What it's also meant, and that's why I asked the question about, who's heard of supply chain in the last 12 months. What it's also meant is that supply chain has stopped being something that people think about in the background, something that people complain about because of how expensive it is to move goods around. It stops being that, and it starts to be seen as being business critical. And those things that you saw in the press, I for one have seen presidents, prime ministers, and CEOs talking about supply chain. I've had meetings with CEOs of substantial organisations who want to talk about supply chain. And after 20-something years at SAP in this business, that's a first for me. So what we've seen over the last couple of years, what have we learned? There's massive disruptions. They're impacting supply chains all over the world, your companies, every company. And those disruptions are being seen as being business critical. They are top of mind on everybody's agenda. We've also learned that a supply chain is just like any other chain. It's only as strong as its weakest link. So if you have a problem with manufacturing, that's supply chain. If you have a problem with your supplier, that's supply chain. If you have an issue with demand, that's supply chain. Okay? And wherever the weak link is, that's the constraint, and that's the constraint that's critical to your business. Now, what we also learned was this impacts industries in different ways. So let's just take the biggest disruption, which was COVID. When COVID hit, people stopped buying cars. So automotive said, oh my God, demand is going to go like this, what are we going to do, what are we going to do? They decided to cancel some semiconductor orders, which I think was not a smart move, by the way, but they did it anyway. But demand went down, everybody was trying to manage cash, and they were worried about their ability to stay in business. People that made laptops, routers, things like that, they had absolutely the other problem. Because everybody decided they were working at home. Or some people didn't decide, they were told they were working at home. So what do? You upgrade your office, you buy a new laptop. Companies were giving out new laptops, new modems, new connectivity for home offices to work properly. Those companies had absolutely the opposite impact of the automotive sector. Their demand shot through the roof. You might think that's fantastic news. The problem is, of course, they had all these orders, they had constraints in manufacturing, and even worse, they couldn't organise logistics to get these goods out of their warehouses, into distribution centres, into consumers. So different issue. And I think the point I just want to make is what we've seen is disruptions impact different industries in different ways. And that's why right at the beginning I said industry cloud, because this is really important. There isn't a standard approach to manage disruption that applies across all industries and all sectors. What works in mining will not necessarily be relevant for a CPG company. Okay? So industry is really, really important for us. So we saw this massive disruption. The other thing we learned, or extrapolated actually, was even though we saw these massive disruptions, they've always been there. Okay, we had financial crisis. In Asia we had SARS. We had geopolitical issues. We had trade wars. You're always seeing disruptions. Granted, what we've seen in the last 2 years was probably bigger and unprecedented and had more of an impact than these disruptions in the past. But what we know is disruption's always been there in business and in supply chain. Call it disruption, call it uncertainty, call it what you will. And what we also know, or that's the bit that we've extrapolated, is we will never get to a place where there is not disruption. There is no uncertainty. Okay, so this is what we've learned, and this is front of mind for people that are looking at their enterprises. So what we've seen, and I mentioned this, we've got CEOs, we've got presidents, we've got prime ministers talking about supply chains. We are business critical. Supply chains are the reason for succeeding or failing. Okay, and I would argue that as well as being business critical, I would argue that people are thinking about supply chains in a very, very different way. And if you look at the history of supply chains, and you go back and you look at, some people would say that it was originally a military concept, so how you get what you need to your troops to fight wars, going back a very long time. But supply chains have, in the industrial age, almost invariably been about driving efficiency, taking cost out, taking people out, just taking money out of a process. It's all been about driving efficiency. And what we're seeing today is that's no longer the case, because supply chains are business critical. So people are now looking at it and saying, we need efficiency. Don't get me wrong, everybody loves efficiency. But what we're also seeing is organizations are saying, how do I differentiate my business? How do I drive competitive advantage through my supply chain? So the word that comes to mind is innovation. Okay, how do you innovate in the supply chain space? Because world-class supply chain is driving efficiency and innovating at the same time. And I think that word is important because when we start thinking about some of the things that we've already seen talked about today with the industrial metaverse, that is innovation. And what we all need to be thinking about is how do we use some of these technologies, how do we use these partnerships so that we drive that innovation into what already is a stable and efficient supply chain process. The word that everybody uses if they're not talking about disruption is resilience. Okay, everyone says we must have resilience in our business and resilience in our supply chain, just in case there's another Suez, just in case there's another pandemic. We must be resilient. And that's pretty straightforward to say, but what does it mean? How do you become resilient? I mean, do you go to the gym? I mean, what do you do? And the reality is, you digitize your processes. Okay, organizations right across the different industry sectors are looking at their processes, looking at their enterprise, looking at their supply chains, and they're looking at mechanisms so that they can create a digital picture of that process. It's by building the digital picture that you can start to make decisions, you can start to use artificial intelligence so that you can predict behaviors of these systems and processes, and you can actually start to innovate and make decisions that will ultimately lead to your business, your supply chain being in a competitive, advantageous position. So it's all about digitizing, it's all about driving resilience into the process. But it's not just, I like this quote, it's not just about go off and buy a whole load of technology. Okay, it's about looking at the process, it's about looking at your suppliers, it's about looking at your procurement strategies, it's about looking at whether you do things local or do things global. And ultimately, if you think about some of the things that I've just said, it's transformational. Okay? Yes, it's a digital transformation, but ultimately it's a supply chain transformation. And given what I've said about supply chain being perceived as being business critical, then I would argue that this is a business transformation. Okay, it's a digitally centered business transformation of supply chain processes, of enterprise processes. And that's where world class is today. Okay, it's looking at what we do, it's looking at the process, it's looking at the technology that can enable the process, and it's making decisions so that you have got a resilient set of processes and practices in your business.
Sorry, do you just want to just lift it?
I remember right at the beginning of the pandemic, people used to talk about, you know, when is this going to be over? When are we going to get back to where we were? And then everybody started using a phrase that used to drive me up the wall, which was called the new normal. Do you remember that? Everyone was waiting for the new normal, whatever that meant. The reality is, we never go back, and we never will. And some of the changes that we've seen in terms of practices, we're not going to go back to where we were. Okay, the concept of digital practices, digital processes, it's here and it stays. And we saw the example of CocaCola, fantastic SAP organisation, by the way. And we saw Audi, also another wonderful company that makes some great cars and has some fantastic enterprise software, particularly the Lamborghini cars that they make, by the way. But yeah, if you look at the, my food's arrived, I'm going to have to hurry up. Okay. So yeah, if you look at these organisations, you look at what they're doing today. They've got digital representations of their warehouses. They're using technology so that they've got the ability to really automate processes in that space. They're not going to go back to where they were. And I think what we'll see is with the increased importance of supply chain processes, the increased digitalisation across organisations, I genuinely believe that statement that we just won't recognise supply chains. I genuinely believe that to be true. And what I also believe is that world-class companies are the companies that are putting the foundations in place today that will drive the new supply chains. And in this part of the world, I came loosely to this part of the world. I'm based in Singapore, but I came to this part of the world about 7 years ago. And one of the reasons I came here was because what's going on here in Asia and in the Pacific, they are the supply chains of the future. It's where manufacturing will continue to take place around the Asian continent. And so I would say what we're doing in this part of the world, we will be setting the standards. So, I really genuinely believe that world-class companies have to go through this digital transformation. I think this sounds reasonably ominous, but it's not. It's just the way we are and where things are currently. And if you talk to so many organisations and you talk to C-level people, it's kind of interesting that everybody says we need to digitally transform our business, but if you also then try and look at who's got a plan and who's got an understanding of the technology that will enable that transformation. There was a study done recently, and it showed that around about 10% of executives have got a plan. So the time is now. The technology is here. The time is certainly now. So, the industry cloud, what does that mean? So what we think of in SAP supply chain is we think of everything which is around supply chain planning. We think about everything that's to do with manufacturing, everything to do with logistics, everything to do with maintenance, and everything to do with service management, at least. Okay? For us at SAP, that is supply chain. We call it design to operate. I think many people that have been in SAP presentations will have heard that expression. But what's interesting is, in the session that we just had, I saw the same circles. I saw field service, I saw maintenance, I saw manufacturing, I saw logistics. For us at SAP, that is supply chain, and there's some good synergies with what we heard from TeamViewer and their approach to the front line. So supply chain exists, and it's pretty small, so I'll point at it. I'm sure the people at the back won't see this, but we talk about SAP's intelligence suite. Okay, so I would say that includes supply chain, but also it's the things that people know. It's the core of your business. It's how you manage financials. It's how you manage people records. It may be how you manage customers as well. So we have this concept at SAP of this intelligence suite. And I said I would talk a little bit about the industry cloud. And really, the industry cloud, it doesn't change or replace that concept of a digital suite. What it does is it extends it. So the foundation is key to everything. You have that digital core we used to refer to, and you have your digital representation of the core enterprise processes. And for us, industry cloud is how we build out, how we innovate, how we use new technology to extend and enable the power of that suite. And I said towards the beginning of the session, I said we saw different things impacted industries in different ways. The automotive versus the laptop manufacturer. Same problem, same disruption, totally different outcome. And I think for me, that's a really good example of why, when you start to look at how do you innovate from the core, you need to be looking at it in the context of the industry. And that's what we're doing here. That's why we talk about SAP's industry cloud. So, as the name implies, it's industry-centric. As the name implies, it's native cloud solutions. And what it also means is, in this space, we've got solutions which we can develop quickly. Because we need to do it quickly. We don't want to do a full ECC to S4 transformation. All those lovely SAP people that will know what I'm talking about. We need to do stuff quickly. And what it also means is, in some industries, maybe SAP doesn't have the expertise, or maybe we've got to pick our battles. I mean, we can't be all things to all men. So on top of this idea of developing new technologies that are cloud native, that we can use to enhance the intelligence suite, we have to accept that sometimes the most appropriate thing to do is to partner. Okay? And that's why, I think that's why TeamViewer asked me to come and speak today. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. But I'm glad that they did. But look, this for us is what industry cloud's all about. So the partnership with TeamViewer, for me, it doesn't do anything that isn't part of my strategy. It doesn't do anything that contradicts my strategy, or more importantly, should contradict your enterprise strategy. This is complementary, and this is the next 5%. This is back to that Edison comment where we're looking for the next thing. There are better ways of doing it. What do you do next? So we're really excited about the partnership, because I genuinely think that this it builds on our 50 years of heritage, and it extends what we do in the enterprise, and it gives it that metaverse view. Okay? Now I've probably only got one or two more slides, I promise. My food is gone. I hope they're keeping it warm. So look, I've only got one or two more slides because genuinely I'm quite hungry. And I hope what you got today is that you start to understand that this is not fads, this is not fashion. Okay, this is good old core, sensible enterprise management. This is about understanding your business. It's about understanding the most efficient and innovative way of managing processes in your business. And then it's about choosing technology which will enable your business to be successful. And our view is that the core, that intelligence suite that SAP provides, is the way forward. And our view is that the industry cloud takes that and really fine-tunes it so that it's aligned with what you need to do, the challenges you face, so that you can build that resilience that will make sure that your business is business ready for the next set of disruptions. So my final kind of slide, I'm almost sure it's my final slide, is really, I'll use this picture just to summarise what I've said, and I've kind of been summarising as I've gone through. So we know supply chains have changed. The disruptions we saw, we know, have really accelerated and opened people's eyes to what supply chains can mean. We know that supply chains are only as strong as their weakest link, and therefore you need to have a holistic view of your supply chain. It's not inside a particular department, it's not inside a particular foundry, it's not even inside your own company. It's a truly networked view of supply chain processes. We've learned that. And we know that successful organisations today are looking at how do we build resilience? How do we get a supply chain? How do we get an enterprise that's ready for the next disruption? And this is just, this is basic management of uncertainty. It's basic risk management. And what we're seeing in this context is this holistic approach to supply chain. We know that one of the enablers for this is to digitize the process. And we know that increasingly, SAP's intelligent suite, combined with its industry cloud and solutions like Frontline, we see that as being a mechanism to drive efficiency in your supply chain and your enterprise, but also to innovate and deliver on competitive advantage. With that, I'd like to say thank you very much for your time. Go SAP for the next 50 years, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Graham. Now, can I have a show of hand? How many of you are actually already using TeamViewer? It could be remote access management with Frontline. How many of you are existing TeamViewer users? Non-TeamViewer colleagues, please. Okay, I see majority are not using TeamViewer yet. Okay, now how many of you are SAP customers already? Okay, I think about the same, equal. Okay, so thank you very much, Graham. Our partnership, TeamViewer with SAP, has been phenomenal. If we look at the field service management or the services or assets management manager or the extended warehouse management, we do have the solutions, the joint solutions together with SAP. And in fact, we are the certified endorsed vendor within the application as well. For the next presentation, right, I'd like to introduce our 4 technology demos, which is in the augmented reality. So today we're gonna showcase 4 technologies, 4 demos, right? The first is in the safety inspection, right? And then the second will be in the vision picking. The third one will be in the AR remote support plus SAP integration, right? And then lastly will be the mixed reality in the form of training and inspection. Now we have got, I want to introduce the team here. We have got David, right? And then we have got Dane and also John later on, right? How does this demo relate to all of you? Who is from mining here? Okay, who's from oil and gas? All right, and who's from logistics and warehousing? Anybody? Right? No? Okay, all right then. All right, no worries if you're not belonging to any of the industries that I just called out, but just imagine if you're in mining, right? You may have specific requirements about ensuring there's no critical downtime in the equipment, right? That's really, really critical. And then at the same time, you need to measure and make sure there's safety at the workplace. You need to also increase the efficiency at the logistic and warehousing, right? That is why we have our team here. We have David, we have Dane, we have John from SAP to really walk you through these 4 technology demo showcases. All right, without further ado, let's give them a warm welcome applause. Thank you.
So thank you, Belinda, and hope you guys had a good lunch. So hope it wasn't too heavy, and I'll make sure you don't go to sleep. It'll be an engaging demo. So as Belinda mentioned, the demos we are showcasing today are very relevant to the industries in WA. Very relevant to oil and gas, mining, and there weren't that many show of hands for warehousing, but any industry you're in, as Graham mentioned, supply chain is critical for that particular industry. And that's where vision picking and warehousing solutions are going to be very useful. So what I'm going to showcase today is so that's what I'm seeing in this device. So it'll come up very soon. If it hasn't, I'll try again. So I'm wearing an assisted reality device. So with the assisted reality device, what that allows me to do is it allows me to project what I am seeing in my line of sight. Might get some help with the screen over here, it's not projecting. And while we fix that up, I'll explain this technology to you. So this is what Hendrik was alluding to earlier. So essentially what I'm wearing now is a computer. It's a computer that has been built into the form factor of a wearable device. So I've got a screen here, there's a camera, there's a flashlight, there's microphones, and there are speakers built into this device. So some of you might ask, isn't that a safety issue? Wouldn't that affect my line of sight? It doesn't. As you can see, when I'm looking straight ahead, I'm not seeing the screen. It's not affecting my peripheral vision. I am seeing on the screen what I have to see only when I glance down a little. So, okay, so it's up now. That's the music one. No, a little bit lost. Yeah. All right, so what I'm seeing on the device right now is exactly this one. So over here, I have access to a few workflows. So these workflows are going to step me through the process of whatever the business process is. It could be inspecting a spark plug. It could be picking and fulfilling online orders. It could be inspecting a routine safety inspection of a pump. Or it could be a warehouse inspection. So you can have any number of, picked up my voice. That's all right, that's the first demo anyways. So the first demo I'm going to showcase is a warehouse inspection demo. And what you have to make sure is the workplace is safe for your employees. And it is critical that certain safety checklists need to be accomplished. And you can't beat around the bush about this. You can't cut corners with these critical safety inspections. So as an organization, how can you ensure compliance, that these critical inspections are done properly? You can by making sure that you use digital technologies and tools. So when I'm being stepped through this workflow, everything is logged in the cloud platform. Each and every step of the inspection is logged, timestamped, and validated in the backend. So if anything goes wrong in the future, you can bring up a report which will showcase that the inspection has been done properly. And as you will see, with the inspection, it's going to help me go through the process hands-free. So say, for example, in the first step, and I'm going to interact with the software using voice. So the option available over here is this word over here. I'm going to say that. Continue. So it now takes me to the next step. In the first step, it's asking me to check the first aid kit to see if it's present, look at it, and see if all the main components are present. So I can make the selections all using my voice. So I can look at it and go, okay, I can see the wound dressing. I can say wound dressing. It takes that checklist. I can't see a pair of scissors in here, so I won't select that selection. I can see a basic first aid guide. So I can either say, the whole word and it will tick it, or if I wanted to say select four, it'll check that particular option as well. So now I can save the selection and it will all be logged into the cloud server. Save selection. And now it's asking me to take a picture of the first aid kit to validate that inspection. Take picture. Save. So the next step is to check the fire extinguisher. Continue. Continue. So So I need to make sure that these three criteria are satisfied. So I know it's located at the right place, so I will say location. It's not expired, so I can tick expiration. And I can see that the pressure is within threshold, so I can say pressure. Pressure. So you might have noticed that sometimes it doesn't pick up my command. That's because there is a fail-safe built into the software that there needs to be a deliberate pause before you issue a command. That fail-safe exists, otherwise your conversation will be considered as a command. Save selection. I can also zoom in. I don't need to go right up to the fire extinguisher. Zoom level 3. Take picture. Save. And it's not letting me off easy. It needs me to also log exact pressure on this gauge. So I'm looking at the gauge and the pressure is 1100. So I can say record, record, 1100. Confirm, confirm. So next it's asking me to look at the tag and make sure it's not expired. And it's also asking me to log the expiration date. Continue. Day, 27, month, September, year, 2023. Confirm. So that's the inspection process done, and it's also giving me an option at the end to make any findings that needs to be logged in the system. So I can create a quick report using my voice, which will be converted into text. Record. Oil spill near gate 3. Confirm. Confirm. Continue. There you go. So that's an inspection process, a very critical inspection process that has now been accomplished properly, thoroughly, according to compliance, and every step of the way it has been logged in the system into the cloud. So for the next demo, what I would like to showcase to you is a multi-order picking scenario. So in most warehouses, a picker doesn't go into the warehouse just to pick one order. It's very highly inefficient. So they make the most out of one trip into the warehouse, and they fulfill multiple orders in one go. So usually what they do is they push a trolley with multiple trays, and each tray corresponds to a particular customer order. So imagine this is a trolley, and it's got 2 rows, 3 columns, and each of these trays corresponds to one specific customer order. So for the purposes of the demo, consider this white tray is the entire warehouse. All right, so let me pick up the workflow. Multi-order pick. I'm pairing it with a Bluetooth finger scanner. Continue. Next available order. So what the UI is depicting here, it's depicting the entire trolley. And it's also showing me where in the warehouse to go to pick this particular item. So like I said, for the purposes of the demo, it's just saying white tray. But it could have been aisle 14, row 2, box 36. It can guide you to the exact location of the warehouse to pick that specific item. It's also giving me a photo, a picture of the item to be picked for increased intuitiveness and accuracy. Then it's telling me what that item is, along with the picture. It's telling me how many pieces, the quantity that needs to be picked. And once I've picked it, where that particular item needs to be placed in which tray, which the corresponding customer order is. So there are multiple layers of validations to make sure no errors are being made. And like Henrik mentioned in the CocaCola case study, that's something we pride ourselves on. Using vision picking, we reduce error rates to virtually zero. So the first validation is scanning that item. So I'm going to scan the barcode back to this item using this finger scanner, and then it'll tell me if I picked the right item or not. Yes, so as you can see, the highlighted step has moved from master log to quantity, so meaning it's authenticated that it's the right item that I've picked. Now I've got to validate the amount of items that I'm picking. I can do that two ways. I can either scan each item, or I can use my voice to validate the quantity of picks. But if you've got 20 items you're picking, scanning 20 items to validate quantity is going to be a pain. So I'm just going to use my voice for this particular demo. Pick one. So it's no longer highlighted. So the next step is the highlighted bit, which is placement. So it's asking me to place this into this tray, and I'm going to do that. Now I'm also going to validate placement by scanning the barcode on the tray. Successful. So it's now guiding me to the next item I need to pick. For this particular item, the super glue, 2 customers have ordered this. This is the first customer who's placed the order for that item, and this is the second customer. So let me make a few mistakes here and see if the validations really work. Okay, I'm going to pick up the electrical tape, not the super glue. I'm going to scan it and see what happens. Wrong article. Okay, that's the right item. It's asking me to pick up 2 items, place it, first confirm the amount of items, pick 2, and place it in the corresponding customer order trays, and validate placement. All right, so I'm going to take the cork sanding block. It's asking me to validate that I'm picking 2 items. Well, I'm going to say 3. It says wrong quantity. All right, so let me say pick 2. Perfect. So now I'm going to place it in the corresponding customer order trays. And as you can see, the trays are color-coded, and the color coding is also available in the UI. So it's, again, for added intuitiveness and accuracy. All right, next one, electrical tape. Pick 3. Let me place it in a different tray. Let me place it in the first tray and scan it. Wrong place location. So I'm going to place it here. The first one, second one goes here. Third one goes here. And that's the last pick item. Goes here. Oh, I didn't actually validate. So I skipped a step. So the software picked up on it. So I've got to validate quantity first. Pick 1. Pick 1. So that's the entire order complete. So I've now picked 6 customer orders. I mean, I was showcasing the exceptions, which is why it wasn't completed very quickly. But if I picked it properly, it's guiding me through the entire full order process very seamlessly, and I'm finishing the entire process very quickly. And as you can see, there are multiple fail-safe layers available as well to ensure high levels of accuracy. So I can now finish work, finish work, finish work. There you go. So for the next demo, what I would like to do is I would like to invite John Wilson from SAP. And in this demo, what I would like to showcase is the integration of the TeamViewer platform with the SAP platform. And in this instance, it's Field Service Manager.
Indeed. We're going to take an asset management example. We couldn't quite fit a whole 100-ton, 785D haul truck. We bought a little one. And David's going to be my field technician. He's going to be looking at that truck, so he's just swapping over to his other set of glasses. And I'm going to be using the SAP Field Service Management software, which I use for planning and dispatching my work. So as a planner and dispatcher, my job is to keep our haul trucks running as efficiently as possible. And we've had a report that one of the haul trucks has a fault, and so I'm just going to go in and show you that process. So here in my SAP planning and dispatching board, I can see the work that is ready to plan. I can see my different technicians in the field, and I'm going to capture manually in this case. Normally, if you were using an SAP system, you would have captured this information in your SAP system, and it would flow through here. But so this is my cat 5D, and it's a mechanical issue that has occurred. Let's make it a high priority issue. It is a mechanical problem. We've got a customer here. So I'm just going to capture a very simple maintenance request. What skills do I need to do this? I'm going to need mechanical repair skill. So I'll capture that. So that's required. And there we go. I've captured my issue, my CAT 785D mechanical issue. And so now I'm going to use the SAP platform to help me find actually a technician that can help me resolve this particular issue. So it's using actually the artificial intelligence in the platform here to search for available technicians that have the right skills, that are in the right location to be able to do this. And fortunately here it's found David as an appropriate technician. So I'm going to assign David to do that particular job, and he's now going to actually receive that job and start working on it. And you can see it's actually scheduled it into the schedule. It's a high priority job, so it's actually fitted it into the schedule to start immediately. Now, David's going to start doing his work, and as a little bit of time is going to pass, because I want to get this haul truck back on the job, I'm going to check in with David and just see how he's going. And what you can see here in the field service management, I have all the details of the job I've created, but actually when I go down here, inside the SAP system, I'm actually seeing TeamViewer as well. And I can see that David's online, and I can see his phone is connected, and also his smart glasses. So I can connect to David in multiple different ways. Now, because he's got the smart glasses on, I'm going to use that, and I'm actually going to call David and see how he's going. So let me call David on his smart glasses. And here now we've gone from the SAP software straight into a TeamViewer Frontline call. So connecting through into his glasses. And now actually what I can see here is David can see me. And let me just mute us on both sides so we don't get any feedback. But I can see what David is seeing, and David can see my camera as well. And so actually, David, how's the job going? Have you resolved that mechanical issue?
Well, the mechanical issue is resolved, John, but unfortunately, it seems to be an electrical issue. And as you know, I'm not an electrical engineer. So this job is going to be delayed by another day, I'm sorry.
Maybe I can help you. Have you got the wiring diagram for that particular?
I must say I do not. Would you be able to help me out?
Well, let me go and grab it for you. So, yeah, I can.
So that's desktop? Desktop. Desktop. Yeah. Wiring diagram.
Where's my wiring diagram? Here it is. And so actually I can make this wiring diagram available to David.
So it's best to go to whiteboard, I think.
Actually, let's do that. Let's do it this way. All right. So I can start sharing, and I'm going to grab that wiring diagram here.
Yeah, second one.
Lovely. So actually now I'm sharing this wiring diagram with David, and I can still see his live view. But if I switch across to David's view, this is what David's seeing. So he's actually seeing that wiring diagram on his glasses.
Yes, John, I can see the wiring diagram very clearly, but it seems to be a very detailed diagram. What exactly am I meant to be looking at?
Well, I think it's the issue here is actually related to the spark plug. I think it's actually this part of the diagram that you need to be paying attention to.
Perfect.
And so if I go back again to David's view, you can see the annotations that I'm making on this diagram are immediately visible. So we can talk to each other, but I can also instruct him as we go through the diagram as well. So I might just take archive that into the log for our call, and ask David to have a look now at the engine there and see if he can see exactly what's going on with that particular issue.
Yeah, John, our engine is actually a bit warm. I don't want to get any closer.
Well, let me zoom in then. You stay where you are. I want you to stay safe. Let me zoom in. What I might do is I might actually just take a picture here, and so I can take a high definition snapshot of what David is seeing. That's being uploaded again into my call log here, so I can see that picture, and actually I can see what the issue is. So whilst David might not be an auto electrician, I do have a little bit of a background in that space, so I can see where the issue is. It's actually right here. That's the bit that you need to replace and to fix.
Okay, so what am I doing with the spark plug? It goes into the round slot?
Yeah, you just need to move it into the round slot.
Okay.
David put gloves on.
All right. So maybe try the engine now. See if that's
okay. Can you see my view, John?
I can see your view here. Yes.
Very good. All right. I'm going to start the engine now. Fingers crossed.
Oh,
yes.
Success.
It is working.
Fantastic. So we don't have to wait another day. We're ready to go. That's brilliant, David.
Thank you, John. You're a lifesaver.
So I'm going to leave that call, and now I'm going to come back into my SAP view. So let me bring that back up again, back into my dispatching board. And I can actually then go and look at all the information that has been captured in that call. So whilst we've been talking and archiving those images and everything, that's been captured in a call log that I can actually then go and view against that particular service call that was raised. So if I open up the service call that we had for our mechanical issue,
It's just a mobile backhaul. It's a bit slow in here.
there we go. So here's my mechanical issue that I raised for my cat truck, and attached to that, I can see here the service report, and I can click through into that service report. Open it up. And I can see the details of that issue, so who was involved in the call. I can see the media, so the wiring diagram, the annotations that I made, the photos that we took, and the markup on those photos as well. I can also see all of the information about the call. So when that call started, when it ended. And all of this then gets attached to my service call in Field Service Management and attached to my work order back in my SAP Asset Management System.
Wonderful.
Brilliant. Thank you, Dave.
Good job, John. Thank you. Well, so those were demos done on assisted reality devices, meaning it's a monocular device. So the advantage of monocular devices are it's not overly immersive, so it doesn't compromise your safety. It's assisting your job rather than immersing you in it. However, having said that, there are benefits and use cases for immersive applications which run on HoloLens type devices and virtual reality type devices. So that's the next demo that we're going to showcase. So Dane's got the HoloLens on him. So what we are going to showcase is a scenario where you can accomplish immersive training. So in this particular use case, imagine if it's inspecting a conveyor belt at a mine site. Conveyor belt operations, as many of you in the room know, are very critical to mining operations. And inspections need to be accomplished regularly, and inspections need to be done properly. However, how do you train a new employee without actually taking him to the middle of Pilbara, standing him next to an operating conveyor belt and putting him in danger? You could put him in an immersive virtual environment within the confines of a safe air-conditioned office space, and the workflow within this immersive device and software will walk him through the inspection process and train him as if almost he's standing right in front of the conveyor belt in the middle of the pilbara. Dave, good to go?
I think so. As long as you can get the microphone going. You guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Okay, so I'm going to try and make sure I walk properly here. So as David just said, I'm going to be working with a hologram. So I brought a conveyor belt. You just can't see it yet. So for example, if you're doing something with quality assurance, with training, and you don't exactly have the space for the object, whatever it might be, you're able to stay in the workplace and work in an office and to do some of those training aspects. So here, for example, I first need to select my workflow. Then I have a QR code to help me position where that's going to be. And I can do that by eye gazing here, looking at it, selecting it, loading the assets, and then I'll scan this QR code to get it going. I'll maybe take a step over here. We're a bit delayed here on the... 1 second. So here you can see I have a conveyor belt that I brought with me. So we have from this QR code where it was first scanned, I have these what we call guiding lines, and that's going to just show the worker so that they're aware of where they need to be going. And so here, for example, I can just walk into my conveyor belt, get a closer look here, and welcome to our training tutorial for our conveyor belt. And I have a couple different options here. So whether I want to do the maintenance procedure or the exploring parts. So for this one, I'm going to go through a quick maintenance procedure. And once I'm done with that, I can also then go around to exploring the actual machine. So whether I'm doing training or whether I'm doing a little bit of quality assurance to make sure that that frontline worker is going to be going to these different info points to ensure that they're doing the proper inspection. So I can also select here with just my hand. Again, I have a maintenance procedure. I'm just going to say, yeah, I want to start process. And I have my guiding lines here as well, taking me over. At any point, I can always kind of grab these points and just kind of move them about. You also have a problem reading, so I can just make them a bit larger. Move the highlighted cover to the end. Okay, so I have here a pulsing panel. This just letting me know what part I'm going to be working on. Done. Done. Just selecting here. And here I now can see that, okay, that part that was just selected, it wants me to move that panel. So I can just grab it if I want to like this. And just move it down to where it's highlighted. And also maybe come down here. I can do rotating if I want to. Put it back. I don't know why. Now it wants me to remove it.
So Dane's not experiencing any lag, it's just the casting from the HoloLens to the laptop that's lagging.
And now it's taken to the next one, showing a small animation here that was taking off this component here.
We don't see it.
You don't see it?
Maybe if you turn around, then you can also see it.
Okay, it was right here, this component here. So I had a roller, showed an animation for a second, and it allowed me basically to see that I need to take the roller that's in front of me and just lift it up and go over to a bit. So I can have here where I move that over, and move it out. And get done. And then after that inspection, I have just a couple parts there, and it brings me back to the main menu, where I can then go through explore parts. And then it's here going to give me a few options. If I want to look at the upper belt, the lower belt, the drum, remove cover, motor, or finish with the entire workflow. So here, I'll select remove cover. So remove the cover as shown here. It'll show me here after I click done. Here, for example. Point.
So the benefit here is you can you can sort of import into the system existing engineering drawings and CAD files. So within a matter of minutes, you're importing a whole CAD drawing and now you're making it available on the HoloLens to be able to be interactive with. So we make it very easy. You don't need to do any coding, and as Hendrik mentioned earlier, it's a platform where you don't need to be an IT expert yourself. You can be an engineering manager and still use our platform, customize it, and deploy custom training programs for your people in the field.
Okay, so here taking over the motor again, the guiding lines bringing me over to where I need to be going, and also doing a pulsing hologram. So I'm seeing here the motor, and I have a couple different checkpoints here. So monitoring the noise, checking and recording the temperature, and assessing the motor mounting bolts to ensure safety. So I have a couple things that I might have, maybe a pad with me, maybe I set up a bit more extensive workflow to have a bit of a checklist. Here I can go back to my component selection again, and maybe I want to check over maybe the drum. Again, my guiding lines, taking me over. And having a pulse here, just showing the hologram as well, just wanting to drive, check on the drum, drive the belt, orient the direction of travel, make sure there's no obstructions with it, anything blocking it or around it. Again here to the lower belt.
You can't see it.
Is it not showing at all?
No, well, it's super heavy.
Yeah, take it real slow.
And come closer to the...
Here, for example, you can see, yes? It's loud.
Yeah. Yes, it's now showing lower belt.
So I'll come over to the laptop so you can choose a better.
I think we have too many mobile phones in the room now. It's affecting the hotspot.
Is there anything else running on the laptop that might be slowing it down?
No, it's fine.
Okay, so it's having me inspect that part as well, so it's something I can reach it from here.
Let's take the step very slowly.
Okay, so let's come back to the part exploration. So I have here, again, it's lagging on the computer. I'm seeing it all smoothly on my side. So I'm back here at the part exploration. So if I wanted to be a frontline worker who's going from point to point, this would be a good item after the presentation here that you can come up, put the glasses on yourself. That way you don't have to deal with the lag so much, but you can kind of go through the steps and see the step-by-step maintenance procedure, but also some of the info points here so you can see them kind of getting quality assurance and finding out, okay, which points are relevant for my job, what do I need to make sure that's checked and done properly. Here I've hit done, and this takes me back to where I can want to decide whether maintenance procedure, the explore parts, this is all in one workflow. I can also build this out to where it's a more complex maintenance procedure. So this is similar to what we saw earlier with David. He had step-by-step processes. We have the 3D editor, the spatial editor, where you're building here, as long as you have the 3D model, which you can either get from the customer, but we also have a software that we're now building to where we can actually do those scans ourselves, or we can just create a workflow on the fly and have our pens edited on a certain point that we would set up with a QR code so that it knows where to reference those step-by-step instructions. So for this one, I'll just hit finish the workflow, and definitely recommend that you come up afterwards and put on the glasses so you can see yourself. All right? Awesome. Now I'll finish out. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David, Nick, and also John. Now we would like to open to the floor for any potential questions. Okay, here we go. There's one question here. Can we bring the mic to this gentleman? Can you also address yourself, which company, and your questions as well? Over here. Yeah. Here we go.
Hi. My name is Tushar. I'm from West Farmers. Fantastic presentation. Really loved the tools. Just out of curiosity, I mean, there's so many questions I have, but I'll probably limit to a few. So you have shown a couple of devices now. Is TeamViewer cross-compatible with almost everything out there, or are you limited to what you've shown here? And those applications that you've shown on this, well, my understanding of TeamViewer from years back is that remote controlling tool, but now you've shown lots of stuff out here. Are you developing those software, those applications that you've shown? Is that what you're doing right now?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So I can take it.
Sure.
So obviously, I think the question around devices is an important one. So TeamViewer Frontline is kind of what we call device agnostic, right? Which means, you know, it supports usually the majority of the devices suitable for your business purposes, right? I mean, there's certainly some devices out there which might be great. However, let's say more for a consumer type of an angle. So we would tend to stay away from those and really make sure we, you know, offer you the ability to use the ones that really matter for your business purposes. So that's kind of the answer to the first question. And then the second question is probably, from my perspective, even more important to bring the message across. You're 100% right. This is everything else than the world knows TeamViewer for, period. But our key message, my key message over the last 2 years in particular is exactly this. TeamViewer is nowadays way beyond IT support, right? And the industrial metaverse piece, everything around augmented reality, everything around, you know, supporting the frontline workforce, this is the second strong product pillar of TeamViewer also going forward. We have been making significant investments in that area, both from an acquisition side, but also from, you know, ramping internal R&D, stuff like that. So, and right now we're one of the leaders in that space when it comes to, you know, augmented reality solutions for the industrial landscape. So yes, this is all developed in-house. All the IP sits with TeamViewer, and that's kind of for sure part of the future of TeamViewer. We will. It is not that you now should think of TeamViewer like TeamViewer has pivoted away from remote control and connectivity to the fancy stuff. No, we have really expanded the reach, expanded the portfolio, quote unquote, not only supporting the IT support organizations, or let's say the support organizations around the world, to do equipment support. We're kind of taking a different perspective, literally, and looking from the outside on actual products, assets, because the world is getting smarter, right? And therefore we typically also tend to talk more and more about OT equipment, so operational technology, because that is obviously where also innovation is happening, you know, all sorts of sensors, Industry 4.0, whatever you call it, right? So that is really the angle where we come in with the Frontline.
Exactly, and to add to Hendrik's point, what you see on the screen now is our platform. So this is the platform on which we deploy the software. We alter the software, configure it, and we deploy the customized software onto these devices. So to give you an example as what altering the workflow would look like, so that's the creator. So in this creator, I'm seeing over here a workflow so that's the workflow for the picking. I know it looks a bit complicated, but to create this is quite easy. I mean, I can pull up a more simple workflow, which illustrates how easy it is. So let me bring up the supply chain inspection, or maybe the engine spark plug. So these are the workflows which can be created without the requirement to do any coding. So that's a simple workflow to go through the steps of inspecting a car engine. So over here, I've used a template, tile plus image plus text. I could have used any templates over here. I could have put a questionnaire there, could have put a media template there. So it's almost similar to creating a PowerPoint presentation. You use the required template for that particular slide. Similar to that, that's how you do it. So over here, if I click on step 1, I've also given the person at this step a couple of voice commands: return and continue. Continue to go to the next step, return to go back to the previous step. I can easily rename that as forwards. If I spell it right, forwards and backwards. You know, and the voice engine would pick that up. I can add more buttons over here. I can, and it all pops up in real time. I can delete more buttons, and I can customize it to the nth degree. I can also, if I need to do an extreme amount of customization for the user interface or to integrate it with multiple platforms, I can also open up an advanced editor mode, which allows me to do coding to customize this to the nth degree. So that's the coding interface. But for 95% of our customers' use cases, they can easily get away with the no-code interface. And like we mentioned a couple of times already, you don't need to be an IT expert. You don't need to know coding to create a workflow. You can drag and drop components and you're good to go. This particular workflow, you create it in half an hour and you're up and running.
I have another question.
Sure.
Thanks guys for the presentation. Very amazing technology. For me, it's like I'm very old school. That was like next level. So thanks for opening my eyes up to the new world. So just a question, you're in Perth now. Perth is Australia's mining capital. This is where all the mining business happens in Australia, pretty much next to Brisbane, where I'm from. Perth's #1. So in terms of mining and oil and gas, can you give us some examples of how your applications might suit those industries, how you might benefit mining and oil and gas here in Australia? Thank you.
So we have a customer who hasn't unfortunately yet given us permission to disclose their name, but what they provide is a service to mining customers. So what they do is geological analysis for safety purposes. So as you know, with mine sites, you have to do continuous geological analysis to make sure the mine site is safe and secure for the daily operations. And very often these machinery or equipment can be highly sophisticated and complicated. And the frontline workers on the mine site, if something goes wrong, they may not be best equipped to fix it themselves. So like we demonstrated with the SAP demo, you can remotely dial in, use annotations, video conferencing, etc. to help that person out. But imagine if the person is in the middle of Pilbara with no backhaul, what would the person do? So you could then create a set of workflows for known problems for that person to be stepped through the process of troubleshooting and fixing that problem. And these workflows, they are downloaded and reside locally on the device, meaning they can work without backhaul as well. So say for example, the person sees a particular error code, they put the glasses on, go through the list of workflows, pick up the appropriate workflow for that particular error code. It would then step that person through the process of troubleshooting and fixing that particular equipment. So instead of having to wait 2 days for an expert to be flown in from Perth, in 5 minutes or 10 minutes, the machinery is fixed and the operations are back up and running. So that's an example for a mining customer. We also have a great use case with an oil and gas customer. Hendrik, if you wanted to elaborate a bit more on that.
Schlumberger. Yeah, so it's Schlumberger. I think so it's Schlumberger, most of you probably know. So they really go into equipment inspection out in the field, right? So they have obviously the various different inspection cases also downloaded to the device, right? So because obviously connectivity sometimes is an issue if you're out in the desert, for example. So they kind of obviously pre-fetch the stuff and then go out, do the equipment inspection, kind of store and capture all the data that needs to be captured. And once they're back with connectivity, all the data gets pushed back into the system and then can be post-processed. So that is a typical, I would say, oil and gas scenario that we're seeing quite frequently for that industry, right? Yeah, mining, I guess it's the same situation, right? It's heavy equipment, it's significant assets that you have under management. So, and those are typically the type of scenarios that they do.
Just a question. Just when I'm looking at this, it appears to me that both the software and the devices are maturing, pretty mature now. And my assumption is that the success of actually rolling out these sort of programs and also achieving value would lie in whoever's actually creating the workflows, whoever's doing the internal training, whoever's rolling it out. That's my assumption. And my question to you guys is that true? And if so, is it the people that are doing the work for rolling out, creating these workflows and doing that, are they internal to the clients? Are they third-party consultancies? Or are they accessing your professional services?
I think the answer is it's probably all three. So starting from TeamViewer, obviously we have our what we call solution delivery people and customer success that really make sure kind of we pair them with your folks in the organization, because obviously there's also a certain element of change management included. So they run with you, if you will, right, to do the implementation, and then also the scale out. Some organizations want to do themselves if they have, for example, in-house, let's say, people with the similar skill set, and then typically is a little bit more like the train-the-trainer approach. So we rather work with that team, kind of bring them up to speed, and then they go and do, and we kind of more taking a backseat, I would say. And the third is obviously through partners, right? Which is a significant element in terms of the entire frontline business, right? So similar to SAP relying on partners, it's basically the same thing for us. We're also relying on, for example, your existing partners, right? That you already are working with. Many of those are partners. Obviously, we're also working with the large SIs that are kind of maintaining a global footprint around the world for you. So those three, so all three is possible. Maybe on your assumption that this is true, tangible, and working and real, absolutely it is. So it is not something that should come across like something that sits there and needs to mature for another, let's say, 2 to 5 years. Organizations like CocaCola, DHL, but many, many more have started deploying it. And when I mean deploy, they deploy it into the productive environment. They deploy it for 8-hour shifts long. So true deployments, not just proof of concept type of scenarios. And they are running with the technology 4 to 5 years already and expanding. So so there are some, you could call them, back the days you would have called them early adopters. But now the technology is something, obviously you need to make sure you do a little bit of a proof of concept type of a thing. I would call it rather a productive pilot, right, in your organization, but you're not really proving the tech that this can generate value and that it is actually working. It's more like, you know, the twists and tweaks that you need to do for your operations to leverage it to the best extent.
That's right. I'm having some vocal problems, so if it goes all squeaky and whatever, excuse me. Ewan Cockrell from Alcoa. I'm based down in Kwinana. Main challenges that I'm hitting the questions on is around the coalface level use. We are in the power station, so we have an extremely high humidity, mostly wrestling around the 90-95%, high noise, high heat. During summer, generally our heat areas are around 60 degrees. We have ventilation going through there, so the real questions around the microphone, the headsets, the weight of it, the fact that we have to connect onto our hard hat with face shields and all this, what the weight is, and how this accommodates for the entire operational side of getting down to our machinery.
I think that is a perfect question for the hardware vendor folks, right? Like using real vendor, they're in the room, they can probably answer it the best. So,
Clark, you want to have this? Clark is from Vuzix, one of the devices that we demoed today.
Yeah, great, thank you. Great question. So the devices are very ruggedized today. So in terms of the noise environment, they operate in environments over 100 decibels. For one, they operate in very high humidity ranges, and they're highly configurable. So they can be mounted in a number of ways. So if you're wearing hard hats or with shields, or even if you have safety glasses that you use, the safety glasses can actually be built to a worker's prescription if they have it. And we can inject the laser light directly into those and render the images in front of them. So depending on the work case, we have their wide portfolio of products in terms of the AR smart glasses to match that scenario. Does that help answer the question?
And what is the weight, when we add it to
our hard hat and all the rest of it. The guys can be carrying about 1.5 kilos. How much additional weight is this adding to their head?
So what are we on with just the basic item? We're like 68 grams, very, very lightweight, so under 100 grams battery. Okay.
How long does the battery last?
There's different batteries. It's highly configurable. So you have some that'll last 2 to 3 hours that are super, super lightweight. If you have longer shifts where you need to maintain 6 to 8 hours of battery, then there's a little larger one that'll clip on as part of your wearable. And if you really, really need long life stuff, then we have items that can clip to your belt. And they're also hot swappable too. So as you start to run out, it'll warn you on that. It'll start flashing saying, you have 10 minutes left, you have 15 minutes left on your shift. And you're able to disconnect it. Your screen keeps up and running. So if you're in the middle of a video call, you're still getting your remote assistant, you don't unplug anything. And you take your remote battery and you clip it back in and you keep going. You never lose the call or your workflow or anything you're doing. You're right in the middle of the process.
What's its range as well? Like the Wi-Fi range, the connectivity?
Well, that depends on your network, but I mean, you can use these things with 5G cellular networks, or you can connect them to Wi-Fi networks. So depending on the strength of the router is what it is. So it would match whatever you're doing with a typical mobile phone. So whatever range you can be with that device and still get your mobile signal, the glasses would connect to that range. So you're talking about hundreds of meters in some cases. Of course, you have to be careful if you're in mines and you know what the connectivity issues are that you all face in that industry and where you have blind spots around corners and things, right? So that has to be accounted for when the network design is looked at and taken place. And there's repeaters and things like that that can be used to extend the connectivity so people can actually get a video signal all the way through where they would need to have the workflow of the assistance. But it can be very, very long, especially where you have line of sight to that technology. Lots of options. Good.
All right, thank you very much. I know that this gentleman here have one question.
Thank you very much, and thank you again also for the invitation and the great food today. Very appreciated. I have a question regarding the integration of workflows in SAP. So we are lucky enough that we have already a few of the realware devices and we have trialed them, but the real benefit in it I see is in the workflow and having it actually recorded in our ERP system. Now, how difficult is that integration? Because the challenges I face when I talk to my managers is, IT comes to me as like, all right, TeamViewer, another software we have to integrate and protect ourselves from malware. And then we have also my maintenance manager who says, well, how do I get my guys trained with that? And then the third thing is, and potentially a lot of folks have that issue here in Perth, we have a lot of contractors that come in our power station for outages. So we see them once a year, maybe even once every 4 years. They probably don't use those devices, but if I would like them to do that with the device, do you have any solutions for that problem?
So John, maybe I can take that one. So the partnership between.
I think you need the reduction of the voice mic. You don't need the mic.
I didn't use it for the demo, and hopefully people could still hear. So the partnership between SAP and TeamViewer is not just a partnership in terms of words, it's actually a partnership in terms of development as well. So, for example, the multi-order pick demonstration that David showed there is available to integrate with our extended warehouse management solution. So that CocaCola Hellenic example, the tasks are being fed to the TeamViewer software from SAP Warehouse Management. So you then complete the task, that then is updated directly back into the warehousing solution. So as you work through, and this is standard integration out of the box, just configuration. There is no development here. On the asset management side and field service side, we have already, again, standard integration. So what you saw today with field service management, I didn't leave the SAP solution to make that call to Frontline. It is a plugin. It takes about 30 minutes to download, install it into the field service management, do the very small amount of configuration to connect it up to the Frontline platform, and you're ready to go. We have this also for our service and asset manager mobile platform as well. And there is even a roadmap of improved integration, more integration that we're planning across both asset management, service management, logistics, across the whole SAP and TeamViewer portfolio. So there is more coming.
For HANA, or is that also in the older version?
So available for older versions. So Service and Asset Manager supports ECC back to Enhancement Pack 7. Field Service Management actually is independent of your ERP version, so supports any ECC or even non-SAP backends. Warehouse Management supports older versions of Extended Warehouse Management as well as S/4HANA. So yeah, a range of options there. And then beyond that standard integration, a full platform as well that so you can do project-specific work as well on top of what's available standard.
So you could put work orders on the display and then they can do that?
So this is exactly what we have with Service and Asset Manager today. The work order goes to your mobile phone or your tablet. That then, if you have the TeamViewer plugin, it presents a QR code. You scan that with the glasses, and then connects the two together and brings the work order information onto your glasses.
That's awesome.
Yeah. The other point I'd make, just in the demonstration for the field service, it doesn't have to always be glasses, right? We had David's mobile phone was also there. We could have done that entire remote assistance scenario, just him using his phone. He would have seen, use the camera on the phone, he would have seen the annotations, everything like that, even without the glasses. So, I guess back to that device question, you can get started with this just with a phone or a tablet, but hey, if you've got the real glasses, you can start using those as well. Yeah.
It's just, the issue is we won't have 200 or 400 for an outage.
Yeah, and I mean, it comes to your contractor example, right? You're not going to go and purchase, sorry, Vuzix and real work guys, but you may not go and purchase like 400 sets just to be used for a few weeks. But hey, if they're bringing a phone or a tablet, bring your own device, they can download the software and they can start using it as well for that period, right? So you can't do everything that we saw in the demonstrations that you can do with the glasses, but you can do the remote assistance, you can do the guided workflows, all of this. Yeah.
But don't sacrifice the safety of your employees. Hands free.
All right, let's have the last question. One last question.
We're going to have the players' appearance in the Legends appearance in a couple of minutes. We can take one more question from Velvet.
Sure.
Velvet is a renowned journalist.
Yes. Can I be cheeky and ask 2 questions?
No, Velvet.
Just one. Okay. So they are actually both quick questions. The first one is, obviously we have hardware partners in the room, but is TeamViewer interested in creating hardware going forward? Or are we just looking at software?
Not at all.
Not interested at all? Okay. And the second question is about blockchain. We know that moving into Web3, the third iteration of the internet, it's all about underpinned by blockchain. Is this something that TeamViewer is leveraging?
Not yet. Time will tell. Right answer.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you for the fantastic sessions
We might
and
have
the
a second
questions.
session of questions after we finish.
Right, that's right. And for some of you who are still interested with our demos and also many other questions, yeah, please approach any of our TeamViewer member. Okay. So the next thing is really to showcase what Ian Fox. Ian Fox is the head of media operations from Manchester United. Some of you might have wondered, like, how does TeamViewer Solutions get into Manchester United? How do we actually help Manchester United? Here we go. This is a really short video for you to enjoy. next we'll welcome Ian Fox to speak about how they use TeamViewer solutions.
Hi, I'm Ian Fox, Technology Director here at Manchester United, and we've been working with TeamViewer now for the past season and going through a number of projects with them. There's around about 13 projects that we've delivered so far to date, and I'm here today to tell you a little bit more about some of those. If we look through some of the interesting projects around the remote access, we've got a pitch-side photography. To date, pitch-side photography has taken a long time to get the images from the side of the pitch while we're playing football back into the media team to enable them to put them out to the rest of the fans around the world. What we've got now with the addition of the TeamViewer technology is we've speeded that process up. So from the point of view of the photographer at the side of the pitch taking the image, within a minute we can get that out onto our own operating platforms and our social media platforms. And that's made it a lot more efficient in the way in terms of our business processes, but it's also allowed the fans to get that information faster. And with Manchester United and any live sports, the people with the information coming out more quickly is where you go and consume it. If I look at sticking with sort of remote control of some of the things as well, moving on to one of the other projects. Interestingly, the pitch irrigation systems that we have both at Old Trafford and at Carrington are operated from a central function, or were operated from a central room within the stadium. And the people that look after the pitches had to go and do the irrigation and monitor and etc. And it was a very manual process. What we've done again with the addition of TeamViewer technology is to bring that control to the people that are actually doing the pitch inspections. So prior to that, you'd go out, you'd do a pitch inspection, it requires irrigation, go back to the control room, set up the irrigation system, get it to irrigate for however long it needed to go. Now, you can do that from the palm of your hand. The people going out, the groundsman doing that inspection can go out there and can control those irrigation systems at the moment on the pitch, saving lots of time and becoming more efficient again. Shifting gear a little bit and thinking about fans, if we look at some of the other solutions and really customer satisfaction and going from a customer care solution where a lot of the demographic of our fans are not necessarily digitally first. You buy a ticket, you have an issue maybe, it didn't turn up where you expected it or you didn't get the email. We get a call into customer care. Adding in TeamViewer technology with the co-browsing and the Engage product has made us much more efficient in that area and provide a fan experience. So today, when you dial into the customer care, our agents can co-browse with your permission on your device and help you through those steps and resolve those issues for you. Again, delivering a much better fan experience for Man United, which makes us delighted, but makes us more efficient in the call centre as well. And what we'll come on to in other areas of that is the other features within that product, whether that's chatbot or other elements in there that allow us to become more and more efficient as we move on through there. Another example that we've worked with is security checks. And this is quite an interesting one where going around in any large public venue and doing security checks is very time consuming and very labour intensive. But to do that manually, effectively with, I'll say, clipboards, but doing it in a way that's not as efficient as perhaps doing it using technology or utilising technology was a breakthrough. And with the TeamViewer Frontline products, what we're able to do now is enable those staff doing those checks with the frontline technology, with the smart glasses, to be able to work through those checks in a quick and efficient way, to produce the results and have those back recorded centrally without paperwork, without time-consuming effort to do that. We were concerned initially about that in terms of the adoption. You're taking away something that someone's been doing for years in terms of manual checks around the stadium, and giving them the automation, giving them the technology to be able to make their job more efficient. What I'm happy to say is that the adoption of those and the training was so simple that it's actually motivated the staff in terms of what they do, enabled them to utilise this technology and move forwards. So much so that we're looking at other areas of the business as well, the same checks in the kitchens for the catering staff, health and safety, all very important things to us running a large public venue. And we'll roll that out across the business further and over the coming weeks, months, years. And we'll find other elements to adopt those technologies to make us more efficient and make us move forward in the way that we do. So, all in all, the way we've worked with TeamViewer is identifying those areas of the business where we can make the change, improve things. And our experience of this is it's quick to deploy. Quick as in, you measure it in terms of days, maybe weeks if it's a more complicated deployment, but certainly not months and years. So very quick to deploy out there. It's made us more efficient in all of these areas. It's made the business more efficient, and we're only at the start of this journey. We've improved the staff motivation. We've actually improved the data that we get back off the solutions. Implementing technology, providing the data will become valuable in the future. And I think we've improved the brand image as well in terms of our ability to service fans better, and that's all good for us. We didn't set out to do this, but there are also cost savings associated with all of that. There's a lot of benefit to our business. And what we've found over this time, over the first 12 months of this engagement, is a real change. It's made things better for Manchester United, and I'm pretty sure that it'll make things better for any other organisation with similar sorts of challenges.
All right, thank you very much, Ian Fox. And now it's really fascinating to know how TeamViewer solutions can really help performance at Manchester United. Now, without further delay, this is the most exciting part of the event also, other than demo. So, we're going to invite the two legends from the Manchester United, together with the Manchester United TV host, Matt Sullivan. So, let's give a warm welcome applause to Andrew Cole and also Albert Morgan. Welcome. All right. Okay, so we're coming from the other access to the other door, right? So can we just...
Oh, Albert and Andrew are just walking in. I was going to do a big introduction, but here they are, Albert Morgan and Andrew Cole. Sorry, from here on in, it will go seamlessly. There will be no further problems, let me assure you. Let me introduce myself. My name is Mark Sullivan. I am a host, a broadcaster for MUTV, and it is an absolute pleasure to be sat here with you today, and thanks to everybody at TeamViewer for inviting me along. It is also my honour to be sat next to two Manchester United legends. On the far side there, Mr. Albert Morgan. He joined Manchester United in 1993 as a kit man to the late great Norman Davies. He taught him everything he knew, and then from 1995 till 2013, Albert was the kit man for United, or as he will say, a glorified baby minder, which is what it's like in that dressing room. Yeah, round of applause for Albert. And since 2013, he has continued to work with the club in various different capacities and has come on tour with us as an ambassador, his first experience of doing so. Next to him, it literally is one of the greatest goal scorers the Premier League has ever seen. Still sits proudly third on the all-time list. He joined United in 1995 and went on to win every trophy you could possibly want to win, including most memorably the treble in 98-99. Huge round of applause for Coley. Yeah, just to reiterate how happy we are to be invited by TeamViewer and how honoured we are to represent Manchester United to you all today. Hope you had a brilliant day so far. What I'd like to do now is ask the two a couple of questions, but it's much more fun if you guys ask some questions. So, after I've done a couple, stick your hand up and I'll walk around with a microphone, and if no one sticks that hand up, I'll pick on Emad. Okay, so Coley, let's begin with you. You proudly joined United from Newcastle. What was it like to join the world's greatest football club, and what was the process in the signing, and how did you get from Newcastle to Old Trafford?
For me, it was a great honour to sign for Manchester United. It's the club that I always wanted to play for. When it came about, it was totally out of the blue. I played for Newcastle on the Sunday, the FA Cup, against Blackburn. The score was 1-1. I think I was fortunate to score that afternoon as well. Then I got a phone call the Monday after just about to sit down, watch Sheffield United versus Manchester United, the FA Cup. My agent called me and said, look, the deal's on for you, got a Man United. And that was that. I was a bit shocked at the time because I didn't think Kevin Keegan would sell me. And the opportunity come about, and I wasn't going to turn it down due to the fact that I already said I always want to play for Man United.
And how big a factor was the great Sir Alex Ferguson in persuading you to come to Old Trafford?
To be fair, I didn't need much persuading. I think that the work was already done. I was speaking with Paul Ince throughout that season, and obviously Ince was at Man United, and I met Ince through the England squad. Now people talk about there's never any tapping up in football. I can honestly say there has been. It was very easy for me to join Man United because every time I went over to England, Ince always used to get into my groups about, look, the manager wants to come to Man United, and would you come, and things like that. So it was an easy decision to be made.
Made easier by a big pay rise or no?
Not really. No, I've got to be brutally honest.
You came to win trophies, which is what you did.
Yeah, I did. I think that the craziest thing is, when I signed for Man United, I was actually earning more. Well, I was actually going to earn more if I stayed at Newcastle than if I signed for Man United. So it definitely wasn't about the money for me.
It never was, and that's an unknown story. Not many people know that, actually. It's a good reveal, that, Coley. Albert, what are your memories of when Coley walked through the doors into Old Trafford and became part of that dressing room instantly?
Well, first of all, when the manager told me that he was going up to Newcastle to get Coley, I said, no chance, you're not going to get him. Kevin won't let him go. You watch me, he said. Anyway, he came in and we were all, that Andy's a likeable lad, and he knew most
likeable? I'm a legend, what's wrong with you?
So, I'll tell you again. And, it was a good dressing room, and he knew most of the boys for England and one or two other places. So, it was a great dressing room, so it fitted him very, very well, and, he started doing the business right away.
And when he came into that dressing room and he became part of your kindergarten as the glorified baby minder, Albert, what was he like to work with? Did he have any kind of superstitions or any things with his kit?
No superstitions, but an absolute nightmare with his boots. And I say this, everybody asked me, he wasn't the worst player I had, no chance. But his feet and his boots, it was an absolute nightmare. He wanted this stretching that way, this stretching another way. And, my job was to get him going out there with a clear mind so that he'd do the business and score the goals, which is what he did.
So Albert claims that when Coley gave him the boots to stretch, he said, yeah, right, Coley, and then just went and put him under the bench. Coley would out, finish his warm-up.
Don't tell him that.
Give him back, having not done anything, and Coley was like, oh yeah, that's great. Thanks, Albert.
That's at 5 to 3 for the 3 o'clock kick-off, by the way.
But Coley, you have done what many of us in this room would only have dreamed of, and that is scoring goals for Manchester United. However successful anybody is in business, no matter how well you seal a deal, and it gives you an adrenaline rush, it can't be compared, I guess, to scoring a goal, a big goal in a massive match for Manchester United. Can you try and bottle it up? Can you try and give us a sense of it?
Yeah, I think in anyone's field, it depends what gives you that buzz. And becoming a professional footballer, and to get your first league goal or whatever, that's massive. But when you play in the league level and you're scoring at Old Trafford or you're scoring in the Champions League or whatever it is, that is, me personally, I don't think there's any bigger buzz than that. Because you're actually doing your job to your best of your ability, and as a striker, you put the ball in the back of the net. So yeah, scoring goals at Old Trafford or in the Premier League period was a real great thing.
And do you have a favourite goal?
I've enjoyed them all, I'm not going to lie. I've nicked a few, so yeah.
Too many to choose from, that's his problem. But is the biggest high of all time lifting that Champions League in '99? Can you put into words what it felt like that night to get your hands on that famous trophy for the first time?
100%. I think when you grow up playing football and watching the Champions League on the TV, I mean, as it was when I was young, it was a European Cup. I think you always dream of one day being able to play in that competition and one day being able to lift it. So when we won it, it was a special feeling. Not gonna lie, there's a few tears shed because it's something that you work so hard for. You know, we won it in '99, I think 97, 98, no 97, I think it was. We went out to Dortmund in the semis and we should have won that. So we had a great opportunity to go to the final day and possibly beat Real Madrid. So when we did win, it was long overdue, but to be involved in it was just something very, very special.
And after that game, Albert, did you let the babies off the leash? Did you let them go and party? And what was the party like?
From what I can remember of it, it was fantastic. We got we were staying at this hotel called the Arts.
Yeah.
And well, all as I can remember, my missus said I was a disgrace. It was just wonderful because to me it was the pressure of it all. The last 2 weeks with the Premier League finishing, which we won, and Coley got the winner. Then the FA Cup the week after, where we went out there so full of confidence. We'd have beat 3 teams on that day, but that's without sounding big-headed. We just had the confidence to do it. Everybody was buzzing, and then we flew to Barcelona on Concorde and had a couple of days in Barcelona, and then we just, even to this day I get goosebumps on my arms. And I just don't know how we all did it. All the staff were flying and the boys were flying. It was just a magical, wonderful experience. It really was.
And for a few of the younger people in the room, Concorde was a really, really fast plane back in the day. Okay, let's take a couple of questions. Emad, bailing me out straight away. Oh, he's got mine. Excellent stuff.
Okay, so this question to you, sorry, and probably Andy. You've seen me with you guys last week and this week, and Andy, I'm not sure if you noticed me, but I did some shots against David Dickey. What are my chances of playing tomorrow against Aston Villa for at least 5 minutes? Do you think I have a chance?
Like you said, I didn't notice you, so.
Okay, next question. Introduce yourself as well first, please, then ask your question.
Yeah, hi, my name's Martin. I've been supporting Man United since I was 9. 45 years, so I've seen some great goals by the great Andy Cole. So you're clearly a legend. Who of the current squad do you think is going to be the legend in 20 years' time, sitting here doing those media things?
Good question.
Just want to drink beer.
I'll be very, very honest. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how many are going to want to do this kind of role. You know, football has changed a hell of a lot. And if you look at a lot of the players that come to retirement now, I think a lot of them, you know, just want to go away from football. There's not going to be many who go into management or coaching or things like that. So I'm not sure. Over the next few years, I think you're mostly going to look at the local boys and hoping that they come through and in 10 years when they do retire, or 15 years, whenever it's going to be, you know, have the opportunity to be working in this capacity. That's if this role is still going on there.
Good question. Yeah, I feel that perhaps if he can rediscover his form, and we hope he does, and he goes on to have a long career at United like we hope he does, maybe Marcus Rashford would be the perfect example of someone, because of his exploits off the pitch and on it. I think he could make a great long-term ambassador for Manchester United, but we hope he gets his form back and gets into the England team first. Would you agree with that, Coley?
Yeah, I'm going to put the England bit aside for 1 minute. I think first and foremost you've got to get your club form right. I think once you do that, or he gets back to the form that got him into the first team originally, you know, he'll be okay, but he's got him. And I know he does a hell of a lot of things off the football pitch, which is a great positive, but you have to focus on your day job, and he's got to get that form right this season, fingers crossed.
Yeah, for sure. Great question, though. Thank you for that. By the way, the latest ambassador we have recruited is Diego Forlan, so you can see how he's the most recently retired player we started to use on various sort of commercial enterprises and things, so that's the kind of age where they get involved. Yes, please, introduce yourself, ask your question.
Yes, I'm Carl, and I'm from the United States, where we're a little crazy and backwards there. We hear that the Premier League is the top best footballers in the whole world, and that's real football. And I come here in the Australia saying, oh, that's not football. We play the real football. So, Coley, could you comment on that? What's the real football?
There's only one real football.
NFL.
You can't play football with your hands. crazy.
That is a great comment. You cannot play football with your hands. That's spot on. Next question. Yes, please.
Hi, Andy.
He's a Liverpool supporter.
Yeah, Sam.
Thanks for your question. Sit down.
Coming as a Liverpool fan, obviously you put weeks on of misery around Liverpool for years and years, and I don't appreciate it, but but who was the best Liverpool player you played against in that generation?
Most of it is Steve Gerrard.
Stevie G.
Yeah. I love Robbie. I love Robbie Fowler. Considering when we was playing against each other, we didn't have a good word to say about each other. And then we ended up playing in the same club, and we got like a house on fire. And sometimes that happens in football. I think that the rivalry deters from that. And we had a big rivalry naturally with Liverpool, because that's how closely competitive when we were playing. So I never really spoke to him. Like I said, once we joined the same club, we really got on really well. But I'd mostly say Steve Gerrard.
Great two players, to be fair, Gerrard and Fowler. Next question. Email multitasking. Thanks for that.
I want to play tomorrow.
Is this your warm-up?
G'day, my name is Michael Washbourne. Just following on sort of from that Liverpool question, here in Perth we had a gentleman by the name of Daniel Sturridge come and play for the Perth Glory last season. He played a total of 138 minutes for the whole season, so unfortunately wasn't the best signing that maybe has been there. But just sort of in that regard, Andy, for your career, I've had a lot of people that have come to Australia play football towards the latter part of their careers. Was there ever a temptation for you to come and play for Australia, or even go elsewhere other than England to play?
I did get offered the opportunity to come to Australia. Is it Craig Moore? I can't remember the team who was managing at the time. There you go. And I remember him calling me and asking me to go up.
Did what I leave me, did you call it?
I thought about it, I did think about it, and then I said to myself, this place is so far, man. And I'm not a big lover of reptiles either, so I decided to stay at home. Yeah, but I definitely had the opportunity, definitely.
But of course, his great mate Dwight York did come and was the first marquee signing in the A-League, and he did all right, didn't he? Did he speak
really
fondly of his time as a player?
He loved it. He's back now. He's back managing now, but he loved the opportunity to come to Australia and play, and they did very well. And then the only reason he came back to England because Roy took him to Sunderland. Otherwise, he would have stayed for a couple more years, definitely.
Great question. Okay.
Maybe one for Albert, if I can ask Albert. In terms of characters in the dressing room, like everyone thinks about David Beckham being the biggest character. You know, the teacup throwing, what was it, the hairdresser incident with Sir Alex. So just your experience of biggest characters you've dealt with over the years. Was it Beckham? Was there someone bigger than Beckham?
Well, we've had a few. That's what I think's wrong with, if you can use the word wrong, with football today. The characters, every team had a character. Some more than others. Nowadays there's a lot of egos knocking about, and I think that's the difference. But we had, like, Roy Keane was a character, fantastic captain. We've had Eric Cantona. We've had some wonderful players at our club, and obviously the boss was a character in his own right, still is. I mean, I've been retired 9 years now, and I still get the sack 3 times a week. But we've had wonderful. I've met some wonderful people. I've got a list of 5 that I never got on with, but I'm keeping that to myself.
Every time he says that, I keep asking, go on, just give us one. At least one.
I would say Paul Kids, man. He loves everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
He loves everyone. Don't lie.
I do love everyone, but there was the odd one that.
Come on, man. We spreading love. Come on.
Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Caroline from the ABR Lab. I was in UK when you were playing, so I just want to know Bojnik or Schmeichel, best goalkeeper.
Oh, do you even want to debate that?
No debate.
There's no debate. There's only one. I love Bozo. I seen him the other night, but Peter Schmeichel's unbelievable. Best goalkeeper I played with. I played with Edwin as well. Edwin was a fantastic goalkeeper, but Peter was a joke.
Peter was for me, he was the only, when I first started with the team, he was the only one that I was frightened of. I'm serious when I say that. On a match day, a lot of people said he was arrogant and he was this and he was that. He was arrogant on a match day. To get out of the car and he was like focused. And then you didn't speak to him until an hour after the game, and then he was back to his usual nice self.
You didn't talk to him.
Right? So long as he had his stuff there, and he had it in his certain way that he wanted it, like he wanted 6 towels where everybody else had 1. You give it him. The big man wanted 10 towels, you give it him. And then he had 3 pair of boots. He had 3 kits, 1 for warming up in, 1 for the first half, 1 for the second half. He had a full wall to himself. That was Schmeichel's wall. But a great lad.
Andy, I've got one more question for you. So when you consider Newcastle and your transition to Man U, what was the big difference between the two clubs?
I look at Man U, and when people ask me this question, I say Man United is the Hollywood of football. You know, it's global. Wherever we travel, especially when we were playing, and even more so in the role I'm in now, the support is phenomenal, and everyone wants to be involved with Manchester United. So that's the difference there. Support-wise, I said it's worldwide for now, and that's why people talk about Man United being the biggest club in the world. You know, because it's absolutely huge.
Much more pressure on the pitch when playing?
Yeah, there's going to be pressure because everything's expected of Manchester. You're expected to win football matches. It's that simple. That's why there's a lot of pressure on the players now to try and get Manchester United back to that position where they were previously. It's going to take time, of course. But yeah, you've got to enjoy the pressure. You've got to embrace it. And if you can't embrace it or enjoy it, you shouldn't bet Man United.
Absolutely, yeah. Next question, yes please.
Hi, Journalist Digital Nation. Just wondering how you think the game has changed now compared to in the 90s, whether it's culturally or through digital technologies or just through the way it's played.
How it's changed now? It's easy. It's easy how it's changed now. All the players are so moody, it's unbelievable. We was having that chat yesterday about our dressing room and the banter and just the way we used to speak to each other. I think a lot of players now would actually struggle the way we used to talk to each other, especially when we crossed the white line. No prisoners. You didn't carry anybody. You got to pull your weight. And we used to let people know if they wasn't pulling their weight, and rightly so. I think now if you tell a certain individual needs to pull their weight, I think they'll often spit the dummy out. You know, and that's where it's changed for me, because if you've got that camaraderie, you accept it because you all want to win. You've got to play like a team. You've always got to play like a team to win major honours. The game is what it is now. Is it quicker? Most probably is. I think if you look at all the players now, they all look like athletes. And I mean proper athletes. You know?
You was an athlete.
Yeah, but if you look at them physically now, I mean, obviously they don't eat Jaffa cakes and have a cup of tea. And that's what it is. But those kind of things have changed as well, definitely.
Yeah, sports science has given us a huge evolution in the game. I wanted to ask you actually, do you think you'd have scored more goals or less goals with VAR and goal line technology?
VAR. I think I would have lost 100.
Yeah, because you like to play right on that last man and really get behind that back line, didn't you? So it might have. You think it might have chalked off a few?
Yeah, 100%. It's always, it chalks off a few now, which are actual goals. You know, and I think that's the upsetting thing. For me, it's not what football needs. Football needs entertainment. You know, if you're level and they're giving you offside and things like that, you don't want to see that, especially when they're taking out 3-4 minutes to make a decision what could be made in a split second. So I think for me, I'm not going to be a fan of VAR, definitely.
Okay, nice one. Next question. Last question over there at the back.
Hey guys, Jake Owen from SAP. Thanks for joining us, gents. Really appreciate it. Last question, a bit of pressure. You're talking about some of the superstitions. What are some of the weirdest ones, or what is the most memorable one you've experienced, either with who you played with or you looked after in the chain room?
The one that always springs to mind to me was Eric Cantona. he always wanted, this was before they had the numbers on the shorts, he always wanted the same shorts. You know, if we played in a white short, he'd put the same white one, same black one. So my laundry ladies used to put a little cross on the label in the back that they were Eric shorts. And he always wanted a clean, brand new pair of socks, plus a salt pot. And he used to get the sock out of the packet, they had to be in the packet, put his hand in, wiggle it round, stretch the foot out, put the salt pot in, put it on his feet. Don't know what it did, but I christened him Salt and Vinegar Feet, and he was brilliant.
Complete strangest one you've seen?
I hadn't. Eric sprinkling salt in his socks, I think that was the weirdest one for me, but otherwise, I mean, normal, put your shirt on last, come out last out the tunnel and things like that.
As Paul Lynch put his shirt on last,
So,
wasn't it?
nothing major, no, definitely not.
David Beckham, a new pair of boots every week. I've
Yeah,
still got about 40 pair in my loft at home.
And this is where the auction begins. Okay. Can you bring your money? And that was the last question, I've been told by Joanna. So, round of applause, please, for Albert Morgan and Cole.
Fantastic, a lot of fun sessions today. The next one is going to be very interesting. Let's talk business, let's talk frontline, let's talk AR, let's talk getting Andrew, right? To really do a slight vision peaking demo challenge. So what we're going to do here is really fun, right? This shows our software is so easy to use. You don't even need to get trained very specifically. Let's see how Andrew gonna do that in how many seconds?
So we're going to give Andrew 60 seconds of training, and let's see if Andrew can today replace a warehouse worker.
Oh, I like this.
No, I won't play.
This is your
Go ahead.
Ready? Yeah.
Ready.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Do you like Coley? So,
Okay.
That's going right down your anal.
So as you can see,
See what I mean about
Manchester
baby man?
United footballer dons the headset and marches towards the desk. The man Albert Morgan faces his hands upon Coley's ears. What it's for, nobody knows. Do we care? Possibly.
So, yes. You scan the item. Keep pressing. So now it's asking you to confirm the quantity, so it should say pick one.
Pick one. Pick one.
That's the English Australian accent.
Place it onto this tray here. Place it and validate placement. By scanning that.
Oh, you got to send that.
Yeah, the same thing. Yeah. All right, so let's pick the second item, which is the super glue. Go and pick two of them. So you first pick one and you scan the barcode at the back. So it means you're validating that you picked the right item. And now we go to say pick two.
Pick two.
And place it. Scan this code to validate placement. And it goes to save this one as well.
Okay.
So let's do one more time and then we will time it. So it's called Sandy block this time. So if you want to pick that up and scan the code the other way around, horizontally. Yep. Pick two.
Pick two.
So you've got a scan placement. Okay, awesome. So it's a wrong location, so it's actually saying this one, what was it? Okay. Goes in here, scan that code there. Cool. The second one goes in here. let's say cancel order.
Cancel order.
Confirm.
Confirm.
Next order.
Next order.
Next available order.
Next available order.
One time.
Next available order.
All right, so this is the challenge now. The training is complete. Let's see if Andrew can complete the picking process without making any errors. All right, let's go.
Come on, Andy.
Come on, Andy.
Come on, Andy.
Pick one. Pick one.
All right, so that's the first item pick.
Pick two.
All right, 2 done. 3 more to go.
Pick one.
No, that's
Pick two.
1 error. Second error, so it's actually in the top row. Get the second four close to the, yeah. Second four, but it's, yeah, just place it here. All right, last 2 items.
Pick one.
No, this one.
Pick three.
All right, and doing really well. Just 1 more to go. Not that one. We'll place the other 2 tapes as well. Scan. There's 1 more remaining. We have to scan as well. All right, a bit of encouragement, clapping of hands for the last item. Oh, you've got to say pick one.
Pick one.
Placement. Well done, Andy. That is well done.
Very impressive, very impressive. Thank you so much, everyone, legends, and also Matt. And then let's, very impressive, less than 60 seconds. So what are we trying to say here? Like, our software is really easy to use, right? If you have your factory floor, your workers in a mining, oil and gas, manufacturing, logistics, warehousing, they should be also pretty easy to pick up our software and learn them. Right. So the next session we're gonna do is we will do the closing. Yes, lucky draw. Right. So with that, I'd like to invite also Yvette over here to do a closing.
Thank you.
Yeah, and lucky draw as well.
Thank you. Belinda and I yesterday sat and we decided to assign tasks, and she said, "Belinda, what do you need me with?" And I said, "Give me the most difficult task." And she said, "Talk about Metaverse." I said, "Ah, that's easy." Let them talk about it. She said, "Can you be talking about like the vision and the strategy of the company?" I said, "No, let's give that to Sujan." So how about raffle? That's very difficult for me. and we decided to do that. So we're gonna pick. We have 2 signed jerseys with our authentication certificates that we're gonna do to customers only. So we have this in this jar. We're gonna pick. We're gonna ask Andy to help us with this.
Signed soccer ball.
And one signed soccer ball. So 3 prizes. Yes.
So let's start with the jersey.
First jersey.
So, okay, Andrew. Pick the winner.
I'll try.
Pick one.
All right. Our title, okay. Joshua Masters. Joshua is the Production Data System Engineer Operational Technologies from Television Latin. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Second one.
Albert.
Albert. Thank you. Sujan. No. Gary Rigby. FMGL. Congratulations. Excuse me, thank you.
Let's take a picture.
Let's take a
And the
picture.
last one you want?
Thank you. Thank you, Solly. That must have been hard for you. Paul Whittle from Blue Tongue. Oh, mate. That's not great, right? Congratulations. Thank you. Cheers, man. Excuse me. Thank you. I would like to, guys, there are 2 ways to do this. I'm going to have to ask you to give a round of applause for 6 times, or I can say everyone at one shot and you give applause 1 time. So who's in favor for 1 time round of applause? Please raise your hands. All right. Okay. Before that, I would like to introduce the sales team in TeamViewer Australia. Please, if you can stand up. Adam, Carmen, Rob, David, Danushi, and David. So here we're here. We're based in Australia, across the states. So please get in touch. And David is raising something he wants to talk about.
I think it's very important what you heard earlier on today, and there's some fantastic questions. In all seriousness, the only way you're going to get those answers is scan this, book in a time with us, and we'd be more than happy to bring not only the equipment that you've seen today, but also our expertise with us, along with us, and meet you in person at your sites. So thank you.
Thank you, David. And I would like also to thank the Manchester United team. It's a pleasure. It's been a personal pleasure for me also to be with you guys in 2 weeks in a row. Great. Also, I'd like to thank the marketing team in TeamViewer. I'd like to thank SAP team, everyone who flew from overseas. I'd like to thank Hendrik. Thank you all for being here. It's a pleasure. And also, I would like to give extended thank you to the media, journalists who flew from multiple cities. Thank you all, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So if you really enjoyed today's session, please give us your valuable feedback. All right, just scan. If you see anything as what just mentioned, please scan your phones on the survey barcode and give us some feedback about today's event, how we can further improve. Or if you would like to have any demo sessions organized, please always feel free to approach any one of us, okay? Last but not least, we will have the autograph and also photograph taken sessions outside the foyer. So anyone who's really keen, let's proceed to the foyer later. Now with this, we'd like to end today's event, and thank you very much again for joining our Experience TeamViewer Australia event. Thank you. Thank you.